This podcast features a lot of adult language.
All right, well, let's get this underway.
Let's do it.
All right.
You ready?
Yep. Raining blood. Blah. Balls. Okay. Podmaster Mike in the Orc-Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there. I'm actually going to have John King, one of our DMs, host this episode. So, John, take it away. Yes, you, sir.
I will take it away.
That was super radio sounding. Take it away, sir.
And I said I will take it away here.
Now, John, over to you.
Oh. This just in.
John out in the field.
Hello. It's cold. Not really. Windows are open. I don't hear any frogs yet. Okay.
The sun has not set.
Sun is still not set. And back to you, James.
No sign.
Is that how that works?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't know how to host. We'll figure it out.
All right.
All right. Well, you all know what this is. So let's get to our excited about.
Oh, shit.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to pick the order because I am drunk with power.
You are. You're a madman.
Podmaster King over
He's
there.
become lawful evil.
King
He is.
Podmaster.
Podmaster.
He's a tyrant, an overlord, if you will.
That's my crown. So normally we don't really get to hear from Mike so much, so I want to hear what you're excited about.
Fuck. I was hoping to
Aha!
think while you guys were going.
You're supposed to have this.
Actually,
Ahead of time.
the thing, and hopefully this is not you're excited about, the thing that I'm excited about is the fucking character sheets that you made.
Such a fucking
Is
noob.
that one of your things?
It is actually my thing.
So James put together this really cool code using what is it called? naturalcrit.com. So you kind of modified it and did your own version, and he gave us this code to put all of our stats in, and then he fills it into his custom code that he made, and it makes this badass fucking character sheet that looks like it's right out of the book. And I wasn't really excited about anything for this episode. It was kind of a slow week for me, and you sent us that stuff today. We were talking about it, and dude, I just got so excited about it, and they look so rad. Your example one of Svanya looked really fucking cool.
Well, I'm glad I can help facilitate your excitement because the goal is to.
Me.
Oh,
Every day.
That's why.
Not just that.
So the goal is to keep people excited about D&D.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, yeah, and I can't really take too much credit for it because most of it's already there on naturalcrit.com.
The
but
site is really good. Yeah.
really what I did is just took the monster, like creature stat block code, and then I just looked through all of the different, just random places online and in different books where NPC characters are listed and just how they handle a more player-like monster or NPC and how they list certain things, because a lot of them have like player-like abilities, like the champion has improved critical, which is from the champion fighter archetype. So just things like that, and spell casting, and just how those fit in and are formatted officially. And once I had that all out, I just did a sample character, which was Giles, and I sent that over. And it's actually pretty cool because then you guys can just go through it as a text doc, edit your stats, and I can just paste it right in and then do some custom formatting and stuff, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but once it's done, it's done. Because it's not like your character backgrounds are changing at all or anything like that. And then
Until the time travel game.
no, we're doing that now?
No, I'm kidding. We haven't jumped the shark yet.
No.
oh, come on, it's D&D. That's not jumping the
I suppose
shark.
That's true.
That's par for the course. You guys gonna go into some temple and get some crazy incense wafting around, and then next thing you know, you're hanging out with your people from your backstory.
Excellent.
No. Okay. I would sow those
Inside
seeds like
scoops.
multiple adventures. I was actually thinking more along the lines of like the original House of Strahd. That's what, or no, the one with the Zalin where you get your heads cut off and then sent back in time. It's one of my favorite Ravenloft adventures. The name of which somehow eludes me right now.
I ripped off some of that myself.
Oh yeah, it's great. Any adventure that starts off where you're on a road and the headless horseman shows up and cuts everyone's head off.
That's
A+.
Okay by me.
So But yeah, so once those are set up, I'm going to set it up. My goal is by the time this airs, we'll have everyone's sheet done. Some people are slackers, aka they have a lot of shit going on in real life, so they won't be able to get back to me. And depending on just workload and what I've got going on, I may not get them all done, but I'd like to get at least half the party done. So those will be up on our website, and you should be able to just click any one of them, and it'll take you to the PDF where you can look at read everyone's character sheets and their cool backgrounds. And what's cool is they can download the PDF and print it out if they want, and if they want NPCs in their campaigns, our characters can become cannon fodder or whatever for them.
And let us know.
Yeah, if you do that, let us know.
And tweet us or tweet James.
Better not kill my fucking character.
Yeah, tweet him at Chainmail Ninja if he doesn't put those up by Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zakari's is almost done. She just wanted me to look over and make sure she got it all right.
Yeah, and it's pretty. And what's nice about that format is it's super easy to update and edit. So I just have change number, and because before I was trying to do it in like Photoshop, which it's possible, but it's such a pain in the ass to change things and re-edit it. And,
No, it's a real nice looking page for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, and like I said, most of the credit goes to the Natural Crit guys because that's such a cool tool.
That site is so cool.
All right.
It's
Thank you, Natural Crit.
Thank you, Natural Crit.
Natural
we
Crit.
appreciate your.
Or I'm sorry.
Look at that. Mike's excited about me and James talk. Mostly.
Yeah.
That's the way you do it.
That's just good.
Right
Yeah,
there.
just steal
That
people's.
was like
2 in 1.
Pajitsu
what
right
it
there. All right.
I had a feeling. I'm sorry about that, but
Are
you
you
just stealing?
you
To be
you
fair.
really got me excited. You put together a really nice fucking character sheet, and
Well,
I
You're
appreciate
level
it.
Thank you.
1 rogue now. Officially. Because you
Okay.
stole that.
Yeah.
What are you excited about, Brett?
I am excited to play again, actually. I've been having fun running the games, but I have been jonesing to get back in Ovalt's tiny shoes and, goof around and be kind of...
This is like size 4s.
I don't even
If you're
know.
lucky.
Yeah. In fact, I should go through my kid's closet and find some shoes that would be like Ovalt
Some boots.
size. Yeah. Oh, boots. But I'm excited because we've leveled up, and I haven't gotten to play around with a level 5 Ovalt yet, but I have some good plans, and I have some very interesting character development that I've been brewing a little bit. And I haven't told anyone, including you, about...
He's
Cool.
half dragon now.
yeah, you did that.
That sounds awesome, dude.
So yeah, I'm excited to play again. I've got my spell book. I have some other fun little plans and fun little ideas, and yeah, just looking forward to playing.
Cool.
Yeah, look forward to you playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I look forward to DMing.
well, very good. Oh, is
Yeah,
that you're excited about?
Boo doo doo.
I guess it has to be.
It has to be.
Since mine was stolen by a thief in the night over
Well,
there.
we kind of synergized it.
We did.
Kind of. I mean, you still got to use it because you talked about it.
You're riding my coattails, man.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So, anyways,
That's how I succeed at work too.
You're the wind beneath my coattails.
So, since no one will ask me, John, what are you excited about? Oh, well, I'm excited about cleaning up my office.
that's part of being the podmaster.
Oh, I know. I have to ask myself questions.
Yeah.
This is so weird. I don't like it.
Excited about cleaning your office?
Yeah, I've been getting rid of stuff, clearing it out, trying to make it a little oasis of John for John, so I could just kind of relax and really think things through and put up all my role playing games and all that stuff, so it's everything's visible. And the other excited thing I can't talk about because much like James, I have fires in the iron. I mean irons in the fire.
Yeah, I don't have those.
It's like the riddle of steel. You put fire in the iron.
of steel.
Yeah.
I have an iron in the fire too.
Yeah.
guys
My
have got shit.
my fire in the iron's pretty cool.
Really? What's it?
But it's so hot, it's cool. I can't talk
quite
about
cool.
it, but you guys will find out by next week.
Mine too.
I don't have a timeline on mine. That's how hot it is.
Obviously.
I had a timeline and a deadline, but it got pushed back due to awesomeness. This is all very cryptic, so we should just.
It's very cryptic.
Here, I've got nothing.
But you guys should be able to see it on next episode of Per Diem.
Okay.
All right, so everyone check it out.
Yeah, they will be here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So it's more than one thing.
It is more than one thing.
They will be here.
Yeah, they will be here.
Yes, we'll be there.
All right. Well, that's
All right.
yeah. That's it. All right. So how do I pass this off to the next thing?
Well,
Casual. What
So
I do
let's
next?
just go ahead and jump into our first topic for the evening.
First topic. Yes, we're jumping into our first topic of the evening.
Can you say what it is?
Yes, I'm about to.
Okay.
I'm reading though.
so John, what's our first topic for the
It's
evening?
crazy. It's a secret.
It's
And
an iron in the fire.
lies. It's an iron in the fire.
It's
if you
so
will.
hot though. I think it's ready to come out.
Yeah, I'm pulling this fire out.
Everyone's like, I hate this
Yeah,
podcast.
I'm done. They should have never
The whole
let.
episode is just called Iron in the Fire. Though. It's nothing. It's just talk about
What are they talking
They should
about?
never let the fat guy host. No, so it's kind of a two-parter.
I can host. Fuck you.
No, this fat guy.
Aren't we all fat?
Yeah, but like levels of fat. We're like
This is actually a
we're like the
six-pack
Russian. Yeah, like a 6-pack on top of a keg
Exactly.
in the back of a keg.
Viewers
a
are like,
wine
oh, you don't
store.
let the fat guy host. We're like, which one are they fucking talking about?
This fat guy. Like we go.
So what is our subject tonight?
Secrets
Master
and lies. When are they helpful, and when do they hurt a campaign?
Oh.
Coupled with conflicting objectives.
Well, those kind of go together.
Yeah, I figured as much. So, how do we handle this when 2 or more players have motivations that conflict with each other? And typically, I find that character development, secret lies like that, kind of go together if you're not letting that go. So, what do you guys think? Let's start with Brett.
Actually, I'm kind of excited to talk about this one because in this last game of Sea of Mist, I specifically weaved in some conflicting objectives for a couple of the characters. Without giving anything away, there are 2 characters that are looking for something, but they both are looking for it for different reasons. So they're gonna want the same thing, but they're gonna want it for different reasons. And I know that a conflict like this can end badly. You know, like obviously it can get
Yeah,
you can get
some of their characters can get.
sucked into black holes, right?
It's fucking. We're not talking about that. No, I'm just kidding. We can talk about whatever we want.
But when it comes to the 2 players specifically, I messaged both of them and asked them if they were cool with having some conflict with another character, knowing that it's in the game, but to please not kill each other. Like, find some way not to just outright kill each other over it. Because I think you could add a lot of really interesting drama to it, especially when the 2, specifically these 2 players, find out why they need it. It's going to be hard for them to complete their own objective because they're going to be kind of like, oh my gosh, this guy needs it for this reason, but I need it for this reason. And so they'll either have to be selfish and use it for themselves and the other person has to sacrifice their thing, or give it up to the other person and let him do it and be selfless, or work together to find a way that they can all be happy. So, I guess in summary, my suggestion, if you want to put some kind of conflict into the game, without giving away what it is, run it by the players first. Or do some kind of test with everybody and just ask them who's okay with some player conflict, who thinks that they can do that without going off the handles. And, you can even put it up to a vote. And some people are down with it and they raise their hand. Okay, you mark them down. People that don't raise their hand, leave them out of it. That'll be fine.
So the 2 players that you talk to, do they not know who the other player is, though?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
It
So-
could be.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we'll see how it pans out, but these are 2... I mean, I know all these guys really well, so I think both the players are mature enough to be like, okay, that's what it is, and it'll be fine.
Now, what do you think about this, James?
Well, they both. I at least my opinion on both of them comes from a similar place, which is when you're setting these up and planning them as a player or a DM, as far as secrets and everything. You have to ask yourself, is this going to make the roleplay and the game itself more fun, or is it just going to convolute things, right? Like, because if I have a player's secret and I just hang on to it, that can end up well. Like, I think Matt Colville had an example where for years they were playing a campaign, and at the end, one of the players was like a double agent, popped out and said, this guy we're supposed to save, and like kills him. That could be cool because it's a very easy explanation. I was a double agent all along, haha! Like everyone instantly gets it. Or if you have a secret, you can kind of drop hints here and there, and it makes the role play fun. And then when something happens, it makes sense. But if you're just running around inexplicably doing things because you have this secret that no one's in on, it just, all the other players can be left in the dark and just wonder what the fuck's going on. So it's kind of something it's a bit of a balancing act. So that would be my advice with as far as secrets and with player conflict. It's the same thing, right? Like, is this going to make the game better? And it's also something that I think a lot of DMs should set up ahead of time. Like, okay, and a lot of DMs do. I see this on Reddit actually a lot, where they say, because PvP comes up on Reddit sometimes, and then that's more like my two players are at each other's throats and they're always fighting, like they want to kill each other. And a lot of DMs have a strict no PvP, no player conflict rule, and others have a anything's fair game rule. So it's really more to your own style, right? Like, in our early games, it was very sandbox, like you just do what you want. I mean, we had inter-party conflicts. I don't want to say constantly, but I mean,
We got our fair share.
yeah, I mean, I can remember multiple occasions where our characters were fighting. Like, I dare say I was involved in a fair bit of it. I had one mage that, like, ended up turning on the party.
You had a mage?
Yeah. He was
I don't remember you ever having
Elementhalas. He was a high elf fire wizard, and he was super haughty and arrogant, and and then he found a wand of fireballs, and then it was over.
Oh, that sounds gross.
Yeah, but someone else, I think it was Dave, wanted the wand for himself because it was one of those situations where it was like everybody else had been finding items, and it was like his turn to find one, even though he was like a ranger or some shit, and he was like, I should get the wand of fireballs. I'm like, dude, fire wizard, what the fuck? So
Rangers can wait to be last. They don't fucking need any.
yeah,
Oi!
but and then
Tis true.
an argument escalated, and then he like attacked my familiar. I'm like, that won't do. Web, fireball. But
You're like,
that also had
I
to.
realize I have a wand of fireballs.
Yeah, I think and we were in like a tower at the time too, so I jumped out the window, feather falled, and turned around. I'm like, you get a fireball, you get a fireball. It was terrible. It's not the sort of thing that should happen. I think back on it fondly. My brother was not happy. He was the DM. But and we've also had other things. I remember, and it can be minor, and there's some inter-party conflict, or intra, I should say. All those years of Latin peeking through. And we've had some that were fun, right? And they added to the mystery, like when one character stole another character's katanas, and it was kind of a kleptomaniac thing, right? Because this player made a big deal about how he had these ornate katanas, and this other player was he was, I think he was either a super crazy rogue or a ninja. And he decided, well, those look expensive, and just like he made all his rolls behind. He passed notes to the DM, and so he got the katana, and then and so dude gets a note. One of your katanas is missing, and so he passed the note back. All right, I'm going to search this other character who he thought took it, which was Marin. And her character was this like big buff fighter chick named Roseblade, and. Yeah, it was like Red Sonja, like beefy chick that was just like ass kicker, and he totally flubbed his role. So he just says, "Well, Marin, Dave's you think he's trying to feel you up," and then so she's just all knocks him out, and then he woke up, and that was when I was playing a Minotaur from Kryn. And I was like, ha ha ha, you got knocked out. He made some argument because he's very much a might makes right character. And he's like, whatever, you're just some like half cow thing, which to them, since they're mutated by this magical stone that flew over and actually mutated ogres, took great offense because that's like the worst thing you could say to a minotaur on Kryn. So he punches him out. And then
Concussions.
yeah, and then he wakes up. Oh, this is my best or my favorite. And then Garrett's character, who's Ambatant the Great, who is he was role playing the dumb fighter, like the classic dumb fighter with an intelligence of like 4 or 5. And so Dave wakes up. Ambatant knocks him out. And he's like, "Why'd you knock me out?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, all the others." I just and so.
Wait. So this is basically a party of like 18 strength dudes and dudes.
It ended up that way. It was one of those things where
like Gold's Gym just got out.
well, it was kind of a weird game because it was one of those things where we had our group, and then my brother's friends had their group, and it was like one of those like, why don't we all play like a huge game together? So it was kind of a clusterfuck, but it was a lot of fun.
But what was the resolution after the dude stole the katana?
I think he gave it back because he was just fucking around. Like, yeah, I mean, you got to remember we were also pretty young when we did this. It was like, I think my brother was a junior in high school, and I was 3 years below that. So, you know, myself and my friend who were he was the ninja. I mean, we were like fucking in our early teens, so we were obnoxious as fuck. But you know, that said, the purpose of those stories was that those are some fun, memorable experiences, not for Dave so much, but you know, that also tends to happen with players that take themselves a little too seriously anyways, one way or the other. So, it's just something you gotta gauge. But as long as it's informing the story, like what you were preparing, and you also went ahead and said, "Hey, you two, is this cool?" I think that's the way to do it, because you don't want your players generally trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
But you also want some conflict, just so there's drama, right? Like a good example is differences in alignment. Like Traynor he's like, "Fuck this goblin, we're killing him. We've got him at our mercy." He's going to go off and kill a bunch of other people. And, you know, Svanya and Mortander are like, no, he's helpless. You know, that's an evil thing he's at your mercy, and you have to be better than the goblins. Otherwise, you're just like them.
And while you guys are talking about it, Randon just slices his throat.
Which is...
Or I'll slice the goblin's throat in
classic
front of you.
Randon. Yeah. But you get my point. Those are the kind of conflicts that can make... They just add a bit of character and flavor to the game. And so you can have some bigger conflicts, but you got to be really careful with it because it's the kind of thing that can get out of hand, especially when you've got like, you know, because even for, I think, a veteran gamer, it's tough not to feel a little salty when something bad happens to your character. More so when it's like at the hands of another player. You're like, whoa, what the fuck? This is like my main quest. My whole character background's geared towards getting this jewel or whatever, and you just came in and stole it and fucked off down the river, and now I'm like, you know, so it's one of those things where you gotta be careful, because then if you hadn't gone up and, you know, said, hey, this is gonna happen or this might happen or whatever, don't try and kill each other, that could really quickly escalate to, well, fuck that person, I'm gonna shoot a fireball, you know?
Yeah.
So because, you know, people they work hard on their characters, and you know, there's a lot of time and stuff invested in it, so you know, and I think it's it's pretty common. I mean, you see that a lot even with like a player death, right? Like if one of our characters got killed in the middle of a game, you know, for not like a good reason, like you got the 10 warnings ahead of time, and you got killed anyway, but like just like a random dice roll or something, I think it would be understandable if you took a walk to cool off. You know, it's like that. It's not fun. And then you can come back and be like, actually, that was pretty cool from a story standpoint, or whatever it is. So, yeah, conflict. I don't know how much I have to add beyond. It's just you're kind of playing with fire a little bit when you do it, so you got to be very careful.
Well, I'm curious to hear what Mike's point of view of this, being a new player who really hasn't seen the gambit. You know, I think we've all run the gambit here, and you know, you've seen a taste of it, I think, and I want to hear your points. What you think?
Yeah, it's funny, you know, listening to you guys talk, I was basically thinking the whole time, it's really interesting to hear all of you as DMs, as well as players with a lot of years of experience, versus where I'm at. I mean, I only know what I've done with you guys over the past few years, and as far as the question, like, you know, these topics, secrets and lies, I'm all for. I think it just enhances story. I like finding out plot twists and all that stuff. Conflicts, I can totally see how that can be an issue. You know, I've only had one conflict so far, and it was super minor. It didn't really bother me, but it was when Cindy's character Nada disagreed with how I did something, and it's a little interesting to see how it's hard to stay in character and role playing. No, it's just between characters, because you kind of take it like, oh man, it's like, does she have a problem with the way I'm playing, you know? But I'm all for it. I think it enhances the story, and I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. You got to be careful with.
Well, what's funny is you actually, interestingly enough, were presented with a potential conflict your very first session with Randon. Like, as soon as you showed up, Lyra picked your pockets and got caught. And so that's one of those situations where a lot of DMs would just be like, no PvP anything. You can't pick each other's pockets. You can't, persuade each other. Same team, like across the board. Because in some groups, like that would have been like, if you're like a paladin
but
and
it
you're
totally
lawful.
paid off. I mean, it was playing with fire, right?
Sure.
Like you're saying, you're creating a conflict, but it was totally worth it. She really fucked up her role. She did not do a good job. And then getting into my character and thinking about him, like, it sounds crazy to everyone watching or listening. He's a dwarf that doesn't care that much about possessions, only weapons. It's like gold, fuck, whatever. So, but she flubbed it, and you had a really fun way to turn around that flub, which was, you go in his bag and it's like scalpings and all this nasty shit, and like, why would Randon care that, that's not what I pictured in my bag at the time, but
I was actually DMing.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Oh, were you doing? Oh, it sounds like.
It's glad to know it's memorable, though.
Yeah, no,
It was memorable in one sense.
No, but
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah,
thought I
you
did.
caught me. I'm a little embarrassed about that, and I'm sorry.
It's all good.
They all kind of blur into game sessions.
But all I'm saying is, I think
DMing style.
It does.
But at the same time, it's a two-edged sword, right? Like, had that been another character, like Traynor, or maybe somebody like a lawful good paladin who does not abide thievery, that could have turned really ugly, right? Like, that's like a potential, like, all right, you're done, and you're not going to find too many like town guards that are going to be like, oh, you killed this person you caught stealing from you, you're in trouble now. Like, it's kind of one of those things where you got to be careful with it, because you have to be aware when you're putting someone else in a position where you're imposing on them to make a choice between, like, keeping the boat not rocked and role-playing their character how
it's almost,
it should be role-played.
So it's character versus the player, right?
Yeah, and it's a tough situation for, to be in, because you don't want to, everyone wants to stay true to the character they have envisioned.
Sure.
And it's pretty typical for people to make these, like, I'm the star of the movie, I've got my hero character. So, again,
I think it's interesting. Like, we talk a lot from a DM perspective. I mean, I usually listen, but I think it's also important for players to know, Tiffany is also new to this, and she should probably know that, okay, maybe I shouldn't try and steal from the lawful paladin, but maybe she tries it anyway, right? Because I think she was more interested in, like, I'm going to check out the new guy's pockets.
Yeah, and and she didn't, right? She went up. You guys are pretty
she
woodsy.
picked my pocket, I believe.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah, but I was going to say, what's the difference between character development versus conflict? Because sometimes we're calling this conflict, but really that's a way to introduce characters. She's picking our pockets, but there's nothing truly malicious about it. But then there are moments where it's like the conflict is real.
Yeah.
There is something there. There's something palpable. So what's the difference between that? Because
Well,
that was
that's-
just a nice little interlude. But
Sure.
Well, for example, like, and this is just kind of how I think about it. Before each session as a player, I try and look at my character and say, what about my character do I want to reveal through roleplay this session, right? And, like, for example, this last game, I had written into Svanya's backstory that she's got this, like, hot temper because she's this former raider and all this stuff. And I didn't really feel like I'd been playing that up. So in this game, I wanted to establish that was a feature of her personality. So when she gets disrespected by this villager, she's going to punch him in the face because she's just not having it that day. They get in a fight, and it's somewhat embarrassing, but it ended up going her way. But now that establishes, like, okay, she's got a temper. And so that way, later down the road, when I want to like start a bar fight or do something else that exhibits that personality trait, I've paved the road for that. So now everyone's like, rather than being like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, Svanya's flipping out. It's, there she goes again. So it's kind of one of those things where you got to do that character building so people get, like, there's no, like, what the fuck moment. And that is, I mean, that's really the key between, I think, as far as, like, conflict for conflict's sake and that, like, character building drama that you're talking about. Like, because... Yeah, I mean, and that's just sort of another, like, going back to the example with, Traynor having that conflict about killing the goblin. That was easy to see coming because you knew that, my character's a follower of Tempest, which preaches, chivalry and stuff, and you knew Mortander in previous situations didn't like the idea of killing helpless enemies, so that was something... you see these two trains heading towards each other. So it's something that you can prepare for and think, okay, how would my character deal with it if it happens? And if it does, you don't want it to end in bloodshed. So blah, blah, blah. And so I guess maybe what I'm saying is when you lay that groundwork, it's a little bit more predictable. Because if it happens spontaneously, it can catch people off guard. And then you get, I think that's more likely to end badly, at least from a conflict standpoint. Actually... I guess because secrets and player motivation conflict are separate, but I feel like they're a dangerous combo.
They are a dangerous combo.
Now that I'm just thinking out loud, like, because when you do have like the conflict but no one knows about it, that's when it gets dicey. Maybe.
Yeah, what do you think, Brett?
Well, I was gonna say. We'll try to keep it a little bit mysterious because the episode hasn't come out yet because we just played it. But there was clearly a conflict going on with Zakaria. She was looking for something.
Yeah, I don't know. My character's still pretty oblivious. So.
And Zakaria is focused very much on a very specific bad guy we're fighting. And she cast a spell that encapsulated Svanya as well. It damaged both bad guy and Svanya were in the area of effect.
We'll take a quick pause and say... The frogs are out.
Frogs!
The sun has set.
Frogs!
Sorry, I'm not doing that
anymore. So, yeah, I was just going to mention that Zakaria clearly had, she's normally just kind of bubbly and like, just kind of doing whatever, but she seemed very focused and determined on something. This obviously has something to do with this conflict I've been referring to. And as such... there was a turn and she was a little flustered on what to do, and she ended up casting a spell which enveloped both the bad guy and Svanya all in one thing. It did a significant amount of damage, which I know Svanya didn't like very much because
that's fucking hilarious.
What I think was really
that was hilarious.
I wasn't even there for that. Trainer showed up later.
Well, what I think was really cool on Svanya's part was afterwards, after the battle, like everything's settling down and Zakaria's like, oh my god, like running over to this body to go look for something. Svanya just runs up and decks Zakaria right in the jaw. Just, that's for doing that. And Tiffany as a player was like, yeah, I deserve that. Like, I get it. Like, don't absolutely deck me. And Zakaria's like, oh, and Zakaria as a character was like, yeah, I deserve that. Sorry. And went about the business.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where, I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, well, if I want to like role play the pirate Svanya and the play up the temper thing, it's gonna get ugly, and I don't want that because I'm very much a same team. Everybody, let's keep the party a party thing. But at the same time, I have to role play my character, and I don't want her to just be like, oh, it's fine, I don't mind. And she's not the brightest,
sword in the
candle
scabbard.
And anyway, she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. So
Zakaria.
No. Svanya, she's on. Well, I mean, she's
Oh,
not
it's fine. I
stupid,
was
but
like-
she's intelligence
I was like,
9,
we're
right?
not
So
talking about players here.
no. My character is not the brightest. So I was thinking after the fact, I was like, oh, well, maybe I could have been like, holy shit, watch out, this bad guy can cast that spell too, you know. So, but you know, it was just I was doing that mostly to hopefully engage some sort of like punch you in the face. Oh no, don't punch me in the face. This is why I did it, and that's why you shouldn't punch me. But you know, it's just kind of one of those things where.
No, I totally, I loved it. I thought it was great. It really reminded me of like movies or TV episodes where like these close characters, you know, have been adventuring together and they have these relationships. And Sylvania wouldn't hurt her. You know, Zakaria, I picture cast this spell knowing that it's not going to kill you and it's going to suck, but it's for the greater good. And then just I don't know. I felt like it was the right moment. It was just good.
I don't know. Personally, I have to think about it from Trainor's point of view. And I said it during the game. I said, if you would have done that to Trainor, he would kill you. And barring killing
Just
you.
a chaotic neutral.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's like, you should. His point of view is like, you're a professional. You're like a trained weapon at this point. You should know how to use that. And you put me in harm's way, he would try to kill you. And if he couldn't kill you, he would leave. You know, and that was like the two things. Is like, yeah, he would. That would be like the end of Trainor for the campaign would be him going, this is it. Peace out. But he wasn't there. He didn't see any of it. So he was like, all I saw the end result was you just decking her and us trying to kill Big Dude. You should listen to the episode. Listen to the recap of the episode. It's a long thing to explain, but I'm sure we will.
Well, it's an interesting situation from my point of view, just because Svanya as a character is built as like a support healer, like kind of a battlefield control type thing. But, you know, mostly her style of fighting embodies this almost like a maternal instinct where she's looking out for her friends and keeping them safe. She's still in the thick of it and kicking ass, but, you know, her abilities are all like, here, you get advantage. Oh, disadvantage to attack you. Heal. So it's all very support based. So it's one of those situations where she's off in the front getting her ass kicked, and then it's almost perceived as like a betrayal from her because she's like, what's going on? What the fuck? I'm now tentacles. So it's kind of a tricky situation because I, you know, like I said, it's like I don't want to just be like, oh, you must die, just because that's not really how I roll as a player, you know. So, but it can be fun too, you know, like the overall result and everything.
Well, how do you feel about this for everyone, of course? How do you feel about divulging those secrets or those moments or that character backstory that might be causing you to do something that other people won't understand? Because, you know, I feel like as a veteran player, you know, I've been playing for a long time. We've been playing for a long time at this point. That you will casually start divulging bits about your back history. Because, you know, you guys didn't know that Trainor hunted dragons, right? And that was the first little bit. It's like, okay, you know, that's kind of his bag. And then the next thing is like, okay, his mom might have been a, you know, ranger or something. You know, I let these things go so that way all the stuff that I wrote, because it's kind of Matt Covell talked about it the other week when we did it, where he wrote about writing Microsoft Word piece and masturbating all over it. Which sounds weird, but it makes sense.
Watch the episode.
Watch the episode. Yeah, that can be taken out of context. This is not Reading Rainbow. Do not take our words for it. But doing so, where you have all this great back stuff, like Ovolts is amazing. Like if you read it, you can read it on our website. You know, it's Orc-Chop Express. You can read it there. .com. It's not .net, definitely not .org, not .ca. So I think
I don't think we got those. We might have.
It's not .net, .org, .ca, or it's none of those.
Or biz.
Try something else.
Yeah,
It'll work.
just try .com and you'll be good. But you know, kind of like these great backstories, and you let that kind of trickle out over time. What happens when you encounter like players who might have this stuff, but just kind of keep it, and then it conflicts with you?
Well, I mean, that's actually one of the things that I learned by DMing. You know, like I said, when I start a session, I'm like, what do I want to reveal about my character this session? And it goes back to what Matt said. You know, if you write this awesome backstory, that's cool. But if it never comes up in roleplay, you might as well have not written it, right? So, and it's the same thing with secrets, and they're by nature a little bit like that, right? So, you've got to be careful with that and make sure, like, okay, I've got this cool thing. And obviously, if it's something like your secret mission is to, you know, assassinate the guy you're supposed to rescue,
Sure.
yeah, you want to keep that pretty close to your chest. But in all fairness, like, I feel like in that situation, should you not maybe drop some hints, you know? And at least that way, even if it's not something that they could breadcrumb together, that way, at least when the time does come and you reveal that secret, everyone's like, oh, fuck, that's why you did X, Y, and Z. So, I just would say, like, and that's just another thing I do before every session, and I know it seems pretty cheesy, but I just read through my character background. Like, just reread it before every session. Because all that stuff should be informing your players' decisions, because as people, even though it's not as conscious as that, you're a sum of your experiences in your environment, so that all that stuff shapes the decisions you're making on a day-to-day basis, and the same thing should be true of your characters. So if you've got this secret, maybe you're not revealing it, but it should also be informing your decisions. So maybe your character's doing things subconsciously that they don't realize that makes people be like, huh, that's weird, you know? So, and it kind of comes back to what I was saying about paving the way for later role play. So, I mean, that's would be my advice. And that's also, I think, why it's important that everybody try to DM at some point, because you see it, you know, not necessarily behind the curtain, because you always know, you know, the basics of how it's done, right? Like, you're telling a story, you can flub some rolls because you have the screen. Like, it's all pretty straightforward, but there's just a lot of little tricks you pick up doing that, and a lot of them can be applied to playing. So that's what I would say about it.
What do you think, Mike? As a player, haven't DM'd yet. Randon's background, I'd say, is fairly open.
I've loved his background.
Yeah, I think it's just a great one to have.
Well, it's
My background. I'm just kidding.
well, what was cool about it was that
So the player's handbook, so you've never seen it.
it fit.
Yeah. Well, but what are you asking as far as my opinion on?
I want to get your sense on, because your character's fairly open. I don't know if we've cracked every bit of your character's background yet.
Oh, definitely not. No,
Okay,
definitely
see,
not.
and then that's excellent.
Wouldn't call them secret or lies or anything like that, but yeah, there's plenty of background.
So would it be saying that
It's got
you're-
layers.
So, okay, so are we peeling you like an onion? Are we supposed to just find this out over time? Or is this just stuff that Randon would ever divulge, wouldn't divulge?
You know, when we decided to come in this whole campaign, like, you know, James, you'd already run a game, right? It was you that ran that game, right? You guys started Sea of Mist. I wasn't part of it yet.
We were like 2 or 3 sessions in,
Yeah.
and then you guys showed up, I think, on the 3rd.
So coming in, I had this whole idea, and I wrote this, not a huge backstory, but I wrote this quick little backstory, and I sent it to James like, hey, this is what I was thinking. And it was like 90% in line with how he could tie it into the campaign. So he found a way to kind of tweak a couple spots, and it all was all pretty much the same. And I think that a lot of his backstory will come to light through the campaign. I don't know what your guys' intentions are yet at this point for that, but I haven't said anything because I think that they're going to come up naturally.
Okay.
But I'm certainly not. I'm not keeping them a secret. Like, I think if anyone role played with me to say like, what is your deal and where are you from, I would answer them.
That is true. It's interesting because as far as the role play, and this isn't a bad thing, I'm not knocking you, but if another player was to encounter Renan, pretty straightforward barbarian dude, right? Like, but that's mostly just because no one's really asked him questions, right? Like, yeah, he's a barbarian dwarf. He behaves
really
like a barbarian.
Deep down. There's
But
a
at
lot more going
well,
on
no,
there.
but at the same time, like,
This doll collection, it really is.
well, I mean, it's a little interesting, right? Like dwarves, when you think of them, especially in Forgotten Realms, I mean, there's like the dwarf holds in the fortresses, so like they've got a pretty specific culture. Like, why is your dude running around in the woods? This is like, that's not. I mean, not to say that dwarven barbarians are unheard of, especially because they, the Sword Coast Adventurers guide has those, pincushion dudes, but
I definitely think it
so-
breaks the traditional theme a little bit to be like, he's very feral and tribal.
Yeah.
looking. I wouldn't say that's super standard.
But yeah, what was nice about it was, I would say it was more than 90% fitting. Like, man, without going into the specifics of his background, I mean, we could, because I'm pretty sure you guys know it, right? Or are you guys okay?
I don't know if John's heard it yet. I mean,
do you mind if I go into
talk
some
with Brett
detail?
every day,
Or
so, no, go for it.
okay, so when we first started the game, Mike came to me and he's like, okay, well, this is the character background I had in mind. Let me know if this works for you. And it was basically, when he was a young dwarf, he worked at these mines, and then they went into mine, or they went out for an expedition, and they came back, and orcs had like razed the place, and he was driven into the woods, and basically was so scarred by that experience, because he was a young dwarf at the time.
Like 20, super young.
Yeah, like for a dwarf,
spent
it's
like 80 or 90% of his life in the woods.
Yeah, and so he either met up with the barbarian tribe or with the other survivors. They formed a barbarian tribe that's like this kind of anti-orc and goblin tribe, where they spend their time in the forest ambushing like orc patrols and just scraping by. So that's why he's got this very feral thing. And I was like, well, I mean, this whole campaign, or at least this whole box, is based around rescuing this or liberating this lost mine that had been raised by orcs. So it was a puzzle piece that fit. I mean, it just writes itself. I was like, okay, cool. So how about this? You know, you're a little older than we discussed, but you were one of the original miners at Wave Echo Cave, and it's been so long and you've been through so much trauma that you kind of forget the location of it, because you just ran, and you don't really remember a whole lot. But maybe if you were there, it would come back. And but you were one of the original miners at Wave Echo Cave, and then when orcs and evil wizards and shit showed up, you were like, and ran off. And then through years of, living in the woods, you become this super badass. And it just fit perfectly. So it was one of those just kind of lucky moments where I was like, oh, cool, I don't have to do anything to make this fit perfectly. So
what's neat was knowing that, and we were introducing some of these NPCs that people had written in, which was awesome.
Yeah.
We were able to write that into Rainan's background.
Yeah,
Dusha and Rexus.
What was neat was we were able to take Rainan's background and write in some of these characters who some of our viewers had suggested as NPCs. We took Dusha and Rexus, these two gnomish barbarians.
The Gnomarians.
Which also fits, because Wave Echo Cave was gnomes and dwarves.
Yeah. And maybe Alt has something to do with that as well. But
maybe.
That's my shit.
Maybe.
Get off of it.
But so I basically, I'll put it this way: watch the episode. But I wrote them into Randon's background. They were in some way, shape, or form that kind of recognized each other, but they had been separated apart for so long that it was.
Well, it's funny. I kind of was like, gnomes. I don't know who those are. Like, I wouldn't be caught dead around them. But like, I also immediately could tell, based on their markings, all that stuff. It was like, okay, there's a little bit of this like respect already for them. I know why they're where they are. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't know. Gnomes are stupid.
Yeah. You spent your whole time. Well, actually, one day out of the 7 and in between game hanging out with gnomes. So
we did end up 2 days. 2 days. I ended up training with them, and now they're
cool.
Tight.
Yeah.
They're tight.
They might become our bouncers for
core.
Barfing Bugbear.
Maybe the gnome section.
Yeah.
Like the miniatures.
It's just out back.
It's like a chicken coop.
It's like go out to the
like a mansion to them, so that's cool.
The barfing goblin or some shit like that.
Barfing kobold.
All right, well, let's start wrapping this up. Let's get any finishing thoughts we have on this, or you guys have on this.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much just feel like the guiding thought has to be: am I making the role play better? Am I informing people about my character through these things? Because if this goes doubly if you're not doing it with like the DM's blessing, like Brett said. If you're just gonna, decide your character has issues with another character, again, that's really important. Am I making the game better? Because you also have to remember, this is so that everyone can have fun. So if you're going around and doing shit that's like super self-serving, and my character would do that, it's like, yeah, but is it just so that you can have fun? So it's kind of, but if it is something like Sicaria did, where it's this she doesn't necessarily want to do it, but she feels like she has to do it, so she does it, and then there's the repercussions, and then that kind of informs the story and leads to better role play. And now those characters, maybe there's some weirdness, maybe they become closer because of it, whatever. So you just careful with that. And then also separately secrets, again, it's a bit of a dangerous thing to play with, because you don't want to do a bunch of work and have it go to waste. So if you're going to have those secrets, I think make sure you're cognizant of them and make sure those are present in your mind when you're role playing, so that you can kind of drop those hints or have that affect the way you're playing. Because secrets like that, especially if your character's not bringing them up, are easy to forget about. And if you've forgotten about them, chances are you're not going to be letting that inform your decisions on role playing, how you're going to play your character. So that would be my main thing on it, is just make sure you're actually role playing that, and then be extra careful when you're combining the two. If it's a secret that's going to lead to conflict, then you're like, okay, you're in the danger zone. At that point, like, okay, now you gotta keep both of those close in mind. So yeah, it's a balancing act, but it can totally be done. And when done right, I think it's something that really brings a lot to the game, because drama is a huge driving force for character growth. Maybe we can eventually get Trainor not to kill people for those sorts of slights.
Anything's possible. Not likely, but possible.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, go ahead. Please.
No, but if something like that happens, and it's a little, what made it a little more tense too was that Svanya and Zakaria, even though our backgrounds say they kind of adventured in the past and stuff, they're still pretty new companions, right? Like if this had happened like 5 levels down the way and they've been really good friends, now it becomes this weird thing like, whoa, why'd you do that, blah blah. So just it's one of those things. Pick your moments and think about how it's going to affect things and whether or not it'll be good or bad, or put people in weird positions and stuff like that.
Yeah, what you got, Mike?
Well, being new, or newer, I should say, I don't have those same experiences, but I'm definitely going to say I'm for it. I think that the secrets and lies leads to twists and extra drama, and then it's all about telling a fun story, and twists are great. Conflicts, as long as they're light and they don't go too far, even those can be fun. So I think I'm all for it, but I think people just need to be careful about it.
Yeah. How about you, Brett?
I personally think that conflict and secret lies are all great, but if done right. And so I've been kind of experimenting a bit with this, and trying to do it right. And I'll put this out there, since you'll be running the game soon. Ovault is all down with conflict. If you want to put him in conflict with someone, like, I'm a mature enough I'm a mature enough player that like if someone's like, "Oh, Ovault, you're a jerk," whatever, I'll just be like, "Well, what?"
No, I'm not.
I'll try to talk my way out of the situation.
Yeah.
Hey, he's a lover, not a fighter. Like he'll do some illusions. So it's not much danger of me killing anybody. But I think it can be a lot of fun as long as the players are mature enough to understand that it's serving the story. It's just and I don't want to say this because now I'm in trouble, but even if one of my characters died, I don't want Ovault to die. I really like Ovault, but
he's going down.
Even if Ovault died, I know he'll just stuff me in a jar and start raising money, and maybe I'll come back later. Anyway,
as soon as Tons is done, we'll get right on the Ovault line.
As much as I love my characters, even if they
jars.
Yeah, I know, right?
Be one jar.
Yeah.
They could become one.
Tons Volt.
Tons Volt.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But like, if it serves the story and it's really interesting and there's a really good reason for it, if one of my characters died, that would be pretty cool if they died in an epic way. And you know what I would do? I'd make a new character. Like, there's literally billions of characters up in here I could pour out. So I personally am all for conflict, but be careful out there. That's a dangerous thing, and just make sure your players are all good for it, and that they're not going to try to kill each other.
No, I'm just telling you what Trainor.
Well, that's actually I shouldn't say actually because it's not like. Anyways, I really like that you touched on player death, because that's something, and like I said, even veteran players, it's tough not to get salty, especially after you put a bunch of effort into something. But you got to remember, like, when one door closes, another one opens. And most players, I think, have, like, you know, a second character they were thinking about playing or something like that. Or maybe they have some regrets, like maybe they felt like they shouldn't have gone with the character they went with. So, yeah, you know, your character dying isn't the end of the world. And, you know, never know, maybe
unless
they'll
you bet on them.
Yeah.
What? Why would you?
Before you jump into the alignment thing that we're doing, I want to get one thing out. And it's,
Shoot.
I realized I should have brought this up in the Excited About, and it's very quick, and I have to actually say thank you to you, James.
I'm not used to this.
In our last game, you did it solely for advantage, but you decided to sing a sea shanty. And it ended up with all of us kind of raising our glasses and swinging along and slamming our steins on the table. And it was one of my most favorite roleplay moments so far ever.
Wow.
And I just want to say thanks for that.
Yeah,
So
you're very
I was
welcome.
excited about that.
I thought it sounded horrible, so I was.
I know.
Do I get advantage if I sing an actual sea shanty? Like
If you
right
sing
now?
a sea shanty right now,
Yeah.
Hell yeah, but
is it more than like 3 words?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
All
hear
right.
it. I will give you advantage. In Swanee's voice.
No. My mother told me someday I would buy a galley with good oars and sail to distant shores. Stand out by the prow, noble bark I steer. Steady course for the haven, hew many foe, hew many foe. And that just repeats.
Hey! Advantage for Swania.
All right.
She's got a deep voice.
Don't say that. It was fucking awful. You're singing.
Yeah.
But it was
you go.
so much fun.
Well, there you go.
it was a great moment, definitely.
That's
for sure.
obviously messing with you. It wasn't completely awful. I mean, it's not
No,
good.
it was,
Guys are
it was
monsters.
pretty tone deaf.
Yeah, I'm not a good. Well, also I was nervous,
No one's
but
claiming that,
Yeah.
that James.
I don't think I've literally like never sung anything for
It's
anyone.
on his Facebook page.
Probably not since the Wizard of Oz.
What?
James, I'm a great singer, Houlihan.
Oh well, you know.
Shit's in quotes. It's gotta be true.
Regardless, it was
Well,
super fun, and it was one of those moments where everyone was engaged and having a great time, and I was just really all for it.
I definitely think that's all great advice. I won't offer any because these guys pretty much said what I was thinking. So,
Oh shit.
All right.
that's how that works.
It's just don't
I'm
have
psychic.
conflict with Trainer. That's what you were thinking.
Don't have conflict with trainer. Hey, trainer might
getting
grow.
arrow.
Unless you know you can win.
Which is a lot because everyone beats me. I mean, hell, the hay bell beat my ass this last match. So, anyway,
Stop rolling ones.
I will
that
stop
was so
rolling
funny.
ones. And then I roll a 20 and a 1 at the same time. Fuck this. Game's
No,
rigged.
That was ridiculous.
I'm gonna stop just because I can't talk shit about rolling ones. I rolled a 1, then used inspiration, then rolled another 1. So I'm.
Well, you rolled a 1, a 2, and a 3. I
Yeah.
think,
Oh, that's
on
right.
the
That was
board.
Yeah, it was
So
like
you
an
literally
order.
were counting up. So,
Yeah. I honestly I wanted to just go home. I was like, not because of anything you were doing, but I was just like, this sucks. These fucking dice. These fucking dice are assholes.
well, as Mike alluded to, let's move on to alignments.
2 left.
Okay.
2 left.
It's either,
Which ones?
Either
It's-
going to be true neutral or chaotic good.
Oof.
Yep.
I hope.
2 left.
I know which one I'm hoping for.
Something odds and evens, right? For,
Yeah,
Pretty much, yep.
For Foresighter.
Yep.
Do you want me to follow the list for you here?
Well, Foresighter, we have more than. We have a lot of names.
Well,
I think.
for debate topics,
Well, all right. Let's roll an alignment though.
there's 13 technically. You could roll 20 and see if it goes under, or we could cut off like the last one and roll 12. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, let's do that. It's true neutral, gentlemen.
True
That's
neutral.
what I was hoping for.
All right.
You're rolling a 12?
I'm rolling a 12.
Okay.
You hide it from us. Like,
Yeah, it's like your little DM screen over there.
DM hand.
Yeah, I don't know that one. I don't like that one.
just pick one.
Yeah, just pick one. Then.
No.
You might as well just pick one you want to talk about then.
Got it.
So example characters who?
Boba Fett. I
Boba
rolled.
Fett as true neutral.
Yeah, I rolled Spawn. And I rolled
I don't know shit about
Severus
Thrawn.
Snape, and I don't know who that is.
He's from
Oh,
Harry
dude's from
Potter.
Harry Potter.
That's cool.
Yeah, I
Did
don't
you
know
watch the
anything about
movies,
him.
at least?
I don't think either one of these guys watched
Really?
the Harry
No.
Potter movie.
I watched the first one, and then I watched the
Good.
second one, and I was like, is this the first one? I can't tell. And then I stopped.
Yeah, I mean, everything I know about Harry Potter I learned from Kevin Smith, so that sounds a lot dirtier, and I think the movie and the books actually are. But yeah, Boba Fett. The Mandalorian
Well,
warrior himself, true neutral.
In some ways, I can see why someone would list him, because he'll... I mean, again, you guys are the Star Wars fanatics, but I feel like he'd work for anybody for really any reason, and he's just probably looking for money. You know, he'd probably hunt himself if someone paid him enough.
yeah, it's
find you.
interesting.
Myself.
And it also changes, I feel like, really drastically depending on how deep you go down that expanded universe nerd lore hole, which is drastically shifting. It's kind of like the stairwell in Harry Potter, because
I don't get that.
it's changing, ever shifting.
I got you.
But yeah, because retconning and whatnot. But because there's a strong argument for him to be lawful, right? He's a servant or an instrument of the law. But there's, you could also say he's somewhat chaotic. He hangs out in the den of gangsters. His job and his methods are very outside the box. Mm-hmm. Definitely not lawful to, conceal yourself in the garbage. And I mean, at that point, you're kind of taking advantage of lawful systems like that. So, but I do think there is the argument for that. In true neutral, I mean, he goes where the money is. He's indifferent to, what the reasoning behind it is. And, in some of the books, he takes a more personal stake in things, be it revenge or whatever. I think, like when Dengar pulls him out of the Sarlacc, he's got some loyalty there, which, again, it kind of trumps his what would be a true neutral.
Well, can I ask from you guys?
Sure.
As far as I have a pretty good understanding at this point of chaotic and lawful, but I mean, how would you describe true neutral? Because I have a hard time trying to figure out if
we
he
didn't
really
do that.
Oh shit!
places
That's why
inside
he's
it.
We skipped that
Podmaster
part.
and I'm pod teacher learner.
Yeah, well, I mean,
pod learner. Who wants to give true neutral?
well, I mean, at least my take on it is, well, a lot of people, I feel like the standard look at true neutral is you are completely middle of the road, and you could call it indifference, I guess, if you wanted to have that take on it. But and I've said in the past, when you have a neutral and something else, you're kind of doubling down on the other one, and that's not always necessarily the case, but it can be. So when you're talking about neutral, it's just you're pretty hands off as far as I think a fight between good and evil, right? Like if Willow and Mad Mardigan are getting chased by General Kale and his minions, and they're like, help me. True neutral guy is going to be like, I'm good, dude. Like, I don't have a dog in this fight. Unless he does, in which case he's going to pursue his own goals. But then you could also go the route of, this is someone who believes very strongly in neutrality and evangelizes that. Like, fuck you, good. I don't believe in your shit. I think it's haughty and pompous, and I work against your goals. And then some evil dude goes up and says, oh, cool, so we're buddies. And you say, fuck you, evil. You suck. You're a dickhead. You go around killing innocent people. And then so you're your own thing. And I think that is an oft overlooked part of it. And we actually had an email, or I think it was a YouTube question that sort of touched on this. And also I think the character that I have in mind for true neutral is of that ilk, and that's what actually brought it to my mind, because prior to that I was kind of in the thought process of it's an alignment of indifference, if you will, and that can be the case, but I don't think it has to be. So I think that's an interesting part of neutral, right? When it comes to law and good and evil, is the actively neutral, right? Because someone on the lawful or the chaotic side of neutral is that's an interesting character, right? Because you're not all about being an anarchist or anything, but you're also, you find laws and all the rules and everything tedious, and so landing in the middle there is really interesting. So combining those two into someone who is equally antagonistic towards good and evil and law and chaos, that's a trippy character.
One of the things I was thinking about with Boba Fett specifically is, what his motivation truly is. You say it's where the money is, right? So is he getting money for wealth? Does he want to be rich? Or is he doing it for survival? If he's wanting to get rich and he's wanting to be living in a life of luxury, that greed could be seen as evil. Like maybe he'd be a little bit more on the side of the neutral evil side. He's always on his own side, looking out for himself, trying to gain his own wealth in a greedy or selfish way. But if you think of true neutral as kind of animalistic, then in this world, to survive, you need money to pay for food in order to survive. And he's just looking to survive by any means necessary, and he gives no moral thought to either way. It's just, I need money and I'm going to survive, and that's how I'm going to fucking do it.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I brought up the expanded universe stuff is because the character has changed so much, and his background has changed so much. So originally he was just this mysterious bounty hunter we heard is the last of the Mandalorians, but no one knows what the fuck that means. So we know he's just this devious, best of the best bounty hunter. And I think that what we're talking about in general remains true for that. Then when you start bringing in, like, okay, we've got the prequels and they've decided, and the Karen Travis novels detail about the Mandalorians and their code of honor and all this tradition. Now that becomes a pretty lawful character, especially when you bring in his father was killed by Jedi and he embarks on this vendetta, and that's what sort of is his springboard into becoming, not that he wouldn't have otherwise been a bounty hunter because it's part of that culture, but it fuels his career. So, when you're talking about this vengeance and this vendetta, that, I don't know, it could still be a true neutral thing, but it changes the nature of that character quite a bit. So it's just a tough character to talk about, especially when you're talking about alignment, just because it's, even now, I don't even know where it is because I stopped following Star Wars a while back. But I mean, you've now got a lot of the Karen Travis stuff. I know she stopped writing for Lucas because they retconned one of her novels while she was still writing it and refused to hear her out. She's like, hey, can you maybe meet me halfway? Because they were doing some Mandalorian stuff with Clone Wars. Yeah. And I guess they told her to take a hike, so she took a hike. Yeah, she took a hike. She's like, fuck you, and started writing the Gears of War novels. So, yeah, anyways, that's just a diatribe into
I always think it's so
but
interesting to have extended universe stuff, and I mean, all what's in canon. This goes for all sorts of different platforms, but I mean, I'm actually really interested to know what you guys think. Taking away all of extended universe stuff, and let's just say from the original trilogy, how would you define Boba Fett, ignoring all the rest of the stuff? Because my experience with Boba Fett is from the movies.
Yep.
Your guys' experience is through extended universe. Brett might know stuff from some Knights of the Republic game or some shit, and it's like it causes super different
which
opinions.
movies though? Which movies are we talking about now?
The original trilogy.
Just the original trilogy.
The original trilogy.
Yeah, I would say chaotic neutral based on those.
Chaotic neutral.
He's a dastardly dude.
Yep.
And he's obviously, you could even make, you could make the argument for maybe like a neutral evil, but he's not just evil for evil's sake. So it's more calculated than that.
Yeah, almost. But there's a couple of telltale lines in that movie that make me lean towards the chaotic neutral part. One of them, he's like pretty much, he's no good to me, Dad. Right? Yeah. And then the other one is Darth Vader going up to him and going, no disintegrations.
That's what makes me lean towards evil.
That leads me towards chaotic neutral, only because it seems like he had whatever that circumstance was. I think disintegration was his only
I don't know,
option.
man. When he says no disintegrations, to me that says this dude has a reputation for disintegrating motherfuckers. So
I'd still think
he's
chaotic
saying
neutral though.
No. Well, all I'm saying is like you're putting a reward on someone. Maybe you want them alive, right? And that's obviously what Darth Vader wants. and you have to give this guy a special order. Don't disintegrate them. I mean, to me, that says if this dude gets an excuse, he's going to disintegrate.
Way too much, bro.
Yeah, no, it's like if he gets an excuse, he's going to disintegrate you. Like, to me, that's like a little evil.
That
so
is a little more on the evil side, yeah.
Yeah, but see, this speaks to me almost not as so much reputation as almost personal back history. Like they've worked, like he's employed him before.
Sure.
And like one time, Boba Fett had to disintegrate somebody, and he was like, "And no disintegrations."
I think
like
you're projecting.
Yeah.
no, that's
I
how.
have a feeling if he did that before, specifically with Darth Vader probably would have just choked him out.
No, I mean,
No. See, the other reason why I say I think there's a personal backstory is because he wasn't afraid to mouth off to him when he said he's no good to me dead.
he's just reminding him. Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
hey.
he's just reminding him. But I mean, realistically, how many people would do that in Darth Vader's presence?
No, that's true. Well, and also he's like, it's also kind of a, dude, you told me not to kill this guy. Now you're going to torture him to death. Fuck you. So yeah, I get it. And and I have to just say that's one of the awesome things about early Star Wars storytelling was there was so much of that. Here's a line. Now chew on that for a while, and then you have to infer your own thing. Like when they mentioned the Clone Wars in the original trilogy, you're like, whoa, what the fuck's the Clone Wars? It must be a war, and there were probably clones involved. And then you just are left to speculate. But it makes the world feel more real because you've referenced, it's kind of like when you grow up and people talk about Nam when we were kids. I didn't know exactly what Nam was, but I knew it was this crazy thing that happened that a lot of people were involved with, and it was kind of some bad shit, as you get older and stuff. So, and that's one of those moments where it's a key line, and it's one of the few lines that references that character, but there's some interpretation. So, yeah, I mean, I think both of those are kind of equally valid takeaways.
When he says he's no good to me, Dad, like, this may be over analyst.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. So if you put it into the neutral evil bent, he's talking about how it's no good to him, Dad, like on a personal level. Like, for my own benefit, this guy needs to be alive. If the line was, he's no good, dead, or he's no good to us, dead, that seems a little bit more even keeled. Like, it doesn't, like, he's just no good, dead. Like, what are you doing? Like, if you kill him, that's just a stupid move. But when you say he's no good to me, dead, like, that's not helping me. Like, I gotta get ahead with this. This is my power.
Well, I mean, in that way, it's almost like Lando. He's like, dude, come on, we had a deal.
Yeah.
That's where I get from that. That's why I'm thinking. That's why I can't say he's completely evil.
Yeah.
He just has moments where he's no good to me, dead, because I signed up for this bounty.
Yeah.
So I can't collect on this bounty unless you do it. And then that's when Darth Vader's like, don't worry, we'll compensate you, dude. Like, one way or the other. Hopefully this process works. You'll get the body. Boom. But if not, we'll give you money. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that was fun. It wasn't like,
I don't know if it was, man. I almost feel like he was more concerned with his reputation than...
Could be, too.
But again, that's completely me inferring.
The other thing I want to throw in there is that in the original trilogy, Boba Fett was pretty enigmatic. Like, they didn't give a whole lot of information on him. So it's, in my opinion, that's why we're having such a hard time pinning an alignment on him. It'd be like saying, what alignment is Dengar? Well, maybe not quite so much, but it's like
close,
he just was
man.
in the background, like,
Well,
Dengar.
To me, he almost replaced Darth Vader from the first movie. Because if you look at Vader in the very first movie, like, he's in there and he's got some lines... Sorry, there's a big bug. But, he's pretty much just an attack dog. He's not that deep in the first movie. He's just chasing him around. And then, of course, there's the parts with Obi-Wan. But, and then as he started to get a little bit more deep in the second movie, they're like, fuck, we need some dude to be the new attack dog that's chasing him around. So he kind of took over that role just with less exposition.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so final thoughts. Boba Fett, true neutral?
I feel like there's an argument to be made there, but I'm not sold.
Okay.
This is still on movie trilogy.
Sure, movie trilogy, no prequels, no Clone Wars.
I said that
no
too, by the way, because I
universe.
feel like that's Boba Fett.
Of course. I mean,
whatever other stuff's out there, but I feel like that really is at the core of who he is.
Well, true neutral or not?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think more chaotic neutral.
All right, how about you, Brett?
I would have two things to say about Boba Fett. I'm leaning towards a bit of neutral evil, and also shout out to a friend of ours. I gotta say,
Yeah, go ahead.
Boba Fett is the biggest chump in cinema history.
Okay. Well, you can't just say that. You got to tell the story now.
So,
Okay, tell it.
So,
Move
we
on.
we were at this event that we love called Wasteland Weekend, and a friend of ours, Ron, brought up this guy that we didn't know, and Ron asked, "Hey, are you guys fans of Star Wars?" And all kind of laughed because, I mean, hell, not only are we fans of Star Wars, but half of us have worked at Lucas. And they said, "Do you know Boba Fett?" And everyone starts laughing. Yeah, we know Boba Fett. And one of our tribe members, I'll use his tribe name, Minion, he turns towards him and says, "Oh, Boba Fett? You mean the biggest chump in cinema history?" And everyone starts laughing, and everyone's chuckling, this and that. And Ron's face turns red, and he kind of buries his hand, like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Because this is the gentleman that was the stuntman for Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi."
I'm so glad I wasn't the one that said
Name
that.
offhand, but it was literally the actor that played Boba Fett was there, and our friend called him the biggest chump in cinema history.
He turned
I
kind of
believe
red, I
that.
think.
Yeah,
Wasn't the greatest chump in cinema history, actually.
the greatest chump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is somewhat more salvageable.
Yeah.
You're still great.
But what's great about it is Minion has said it's both his most triumphant and embarrassing moment ever. But also, this guy was super cool about it.
Oh, he was awesome.
He was an awesome guy.
Well, yeah,
Great
he
to
was.
meet him.
He was the one that jumped in, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't get what the big deal is with this guy. I mean, I did like 2 things, and then I fell in a hole. Like what? You know?" So yeah, he was really
Did
cool
he
about
say
it.
he didn't even watch him or something?
Yeah, I think he has a thing where he doesn't watch his own movies.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but I think I heard something like
Either
that.
way, he was super gracious about it. He could have been a gigantic dick, and he was super
Definitely.
cool.
Could
But
have.
no,
And he would have been justified.
no, it was amazing. It was like watching a train wreck because
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah,
up.
because Ron had told me about it, so I was like,
Exactly.
"Oh, these guys love Star Wars. This is gonna be a big treat." And then when Ryan said that, I was just like, "No!" And then I was just like, "I'm gonna go over here."
Yeah, just watch it.
Everyone walks off.
And then what was so funny is I was walking around just doing my thing, and someone's like, came up to me and they're like, "Hey, Critical Biggs, did you say that to that guy?" I'm like, no, that wasn't me, I swear.
That was
Word gets around, man.
I know, right?
Why are you talking shit to
Blame
Boba
for
Fett?
everything.
All right,
All right.
It
Well,
seems
now
like-
that we've gotten that,
yeah, that's out of the way. Boba Fett, I don't think is. I'm saying he's not true neutral.
I don't think
I'm
so.
leaning towards chaotic neutral myself. But I definitely see arguments for neutral evil,
Yeah.
or even lawful
Funny thing with these
neutral.
alignments, man. They
lawful
come out-
neutral, you could make that case. I
Case.
mean, he's not quite Judge Dredd, but
he's
he's doing it, and his motivation isn't Judge Dredd's, right? He doesn't believe that the law must be maintained, but
upholding.
he's upholding it, and he's doing it for money. But his actions are,
Exactly.
yeah. So
All right.
let's go over our characters.
Yeah, let's find out. I'm gonna go with Mike on this one because he likes asking more questions and he likes divulging more information.
true.
That's true.
So
That is true.
Do it.
Okay.
Oh no.
I'm going
Just
to.
Do it.
Okay. This is how I view this character, and we'll see if I've got him right. So I'm actually gonna ask you some questions really quick, and then see if you guys think that falls in true neutral, and tell you who it is. So,
It's breaking the rules.
yeah, I'm breaking the rules a little bit, but
You think you're a podmaster?
I fucking made the rules.
Oh shit! I think he's ready to DM.
I'm out.
It's done. Oh, don't set us on fire.
Yeah. Oh, the LEDs are gonna set it on fire.
LEDs, I don't get that hot.
Someone who cares about themselves more than anything else, but also doesn't care about themselves. If that makes sense, it'll come in a second. And someone who will align themselves with whoever will get him by. Do you think that falls in true neutral?
Well,
You can.
you can definitely.
Okay.
If it's a matter
I was just trying to see if I'm on point here. I'm gonna say Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now you're not far enough along.
I'm not far enough
to,
along.
to
Yeah.
really know.
Okay, I'll
It's a
bow
tough
out.
one,
I'm
man.
still in season 1.
No, I mean I don't
I
think you need to
just
bow out.
finished
There's
season one.
plenty of things in season 1, but I mean he goes a long way through the seasons from where I say that point.
Yeah, well, I haven't read the books. No, I'm just trying to think.
And I have
about
not
it.
read the books. I've
Yeah,
only watched the
Yeah, I
show.
haven't either.
Yeah, I haven't read the last one that came out because I figure I'd like George R. R. Martin to write another one, so I at least have 2 to read.
This guy's never gonna fucking
Yeah,
finish
he's
those
never gonna
books.
finish it.
He's collecting those HBO checks. He doesn't give a shit. He's off in like Aruba doing his Scrooge McDuck through his
money bin.
Yeah, he's good to go.
In Aruba.
He's like, I'm not
It's a
reading.
Reuben money bin.
They're like, here, take this typewriter, finish your book. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah, I'll get to it.
He's down south
Yeah,
through pesos.
Hey, that makes your pool deeper.
Yeah, it's a big pool.
All right, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but give us a few points that maybe won't be spoilerific to Brett here.
Way to go,
Well, a
Brett.
lot of this, I'm trying to remember where. Fuck, what season are we on? 6? Is it 6?
Yes,
I don't know.
I believe it is the 6th season.
I think this ends in 5, so I feel like I can talk about some of it because that's kind of our thing, right? It's not the current season.
It's not the current season, but spoilers if
Yeah,
you've
but
not
Brett,
watched.
poor Brett.
That's all right.
Yeah, Brett.
Although
Brett
he's
here
probably had
It's our
everything
rule.
spoiled for
It's
him.
our rule. Like, it's-
that's hell. I
It's out on home
don't
release,
make
so
up the rule. I'm
Yeah.
okay with it.
Well, he doesn't leave his home by his own means, but he ends up in a place where he accepts it and uses it to just benefit himself, and that's kind of the thing. And then he also, I feel like he'll do whatever he can to stay in a position of power, but I feel like there's this conflict where he almost doesn't care about himself at all. That's how I kind of look at him anyway, and it's kind of why I put him there. Not so much of all of the actions throughout the entire seasons, but just his whole like I want to keep going and be on top, but I also don't care if I'm on top. He's a really interesting character, but that's kind of why I put him in that place.
I have a weird view on Tyrion Lannister, but I'm going to venture out that I think he is probably one of the few lawful good characters. If only because I see shades of good in pretty much everything he does. There's a lot of times, and sadly I can't think of any off the top of my head, but he dissuades people from doing ugly things, and he backs it up with logic and reason as to why it's beneficial for them to do that, but he's maneuvering them to do what he wants. Whereas he could have just as easily, with no detriment to himself, let whoever, like I think he talked Joffrey out of doing some shit where he's killing people and stuff like that. But I definitely see him as lawful because he's the type of, like, if he was evil, he would definitely be lawful evil because he's a politician.
Breaks the law all the time.
Does he? Well, I mean, he's done a couple chaotic things, like, the reason he ended up on a ship, right? That's a very chaotic thing, but at the same time, that's not the core of his being. He's not running around murking people.
I wouldn't say that action defines his character. No.
So, but the reason I say lawful is that I think he's a politician. And it's what he's good at, and that's why I think he does it. Like, he's not after power and money. It's just what he was born into, and it's what he's good at. So I think he's a weird, rare breed of lawful good, but I can totally see the true neutral because he does just kind of drift along with the situation.
Well, I think he plays a bigger political game too, and I think that he plays the politics to whatever he wants at the moment, and I wouldn't say that he always does what's right. He's talked Joffrey out of doing some shitty things, but I would say they're for his own benefit.
Sure.
I don't know.
I personally would think he'd probably live in more of the chaotic good region.
Could be.
Because I think all politics is chaos. So,
well, it's interesting too because in that he acknowledges to Cersei, like, or I can't remember if it was. I think it was actually. I forget the eunuch's name.
I'm blanking on.
But he acknowledges. He's like, I know what you're doing. I understand this game, so don't fuck with me. So in that respect, I think I don't know that necessarily represents a chaotic nature so much as there's a set of rules and they're not the set of rules that are in the book, but I get them. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, the book's called Game of Thrones, after all.
Yeah. So
Did you finish the first season?
Yeah, just finished.
Was the first
Lord
season
Varys.
where Tyrion like goes into arms and kind of motivates?
No, that's season
No,
two,
that's
That's the
dude.
second
two.
season. Okay.
Season one, he
because up to that point,
He
I
motivates
feel
a
like
couple
there'd be a
tribes.
super different view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than through the rest of the season. So I was actually interested if you had seen that one, but I guess that's coming up for you. So.
But yeah, I can definitely see. Like, he's definitely painted as like an asshole, but like you said, there's a lot of good motivations behind what he's doing. But he also does some really shitty stuff too. But it's like
It's been a long time since I saw the early stuff, so.
But yeah, I think he's one of those characters that I think, like we've mentioned before, jumps through his progression. I think is.
I definitely think at certain time
you're
periods he
describing.
could be totally different alignments.
Yeah.
Walter White, if you-
That is a character that
Walter
does.
White, yeah.
Yeah.
The guy that could be every single one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely undergoes some changes, right? But I don't disagree with that super strongly. I'm not like there's no way he's true neutral. I mean, that's definitely possible because
I wouldn't sit here and be like, no, he's absolutely true neutral.
Sure.
Like, I don't think that at all.
He's a tough one. I was finding, like, just thinking about this one was more difficult than I thought it would be. Like, I'm kind of interested in hearing who James had to pick because he was so sure.
oh yeah.
Like,
It's
he's.
easy.
I mean,
want
look
him to
at
go
him.
last.
Yeah.
You
You
want
want him
so
to go
excited
last?
because I think we want to end on a big note.
I want to do that when someone's really
I'll
excited.
go next because mine, I feel like I'm phoning it in.
And mine
Real
is so
quick-
obscure that no one will know. So
Real quick, I'd like to touch on Tyrion real quick because I was just thinking about it, and he is a politician, right? And I mean, they're not voted in, so it's a little different. But I would say most politicians are straight true neutral because they don't care. All they care about is getting elected, right? And getting reelected. So they're gonna, it's like you see politicians flip-flopping on issues because they're just chasing the most voters. So in that respect, and he's
It's
a
kind of like politicians trying to get into a position, right? But then
not-
I would
not
think that,
necessarily.
I
I
mean,
mean, they
in
have
an
to-
ideal world, I think once you're in, you would try and do things that you're passionate about, changing all that. But that's
No, because you
I
gotta
don't
get
feel like
reelected.
That's the way it is.
yeah, I'm leaving politics outside the window.
But not all politicians have term limits, so they have to worry about getting reelected. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, in that light, I can totally see that actually because he is like, he's playing the game, and it's that maybe his acknowledgement of the game, as it were, is his commitment to neither law or chaos, but understanding like there's a path to navigating this minefield that is, King's Landing and the rest of Westeros, which is neutral, right? So maybe.
I want to throw out one more comment on this.
Sure.
And I'm
Fuck
going to
you.
say spoiler warning for the current season.
Spoiler.
Spoiler warning if
Earmuffs.
you're not on the current season. Brett's the kind of person that doesn't give a shit. So I'm going to say it anyway.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
I don't want to hear anything.
Spoilers for like the last episode of Game of Thrones. I think it was the last episode, or maybe one before that.
I don't know what you're
But
gonna
so
say.
he comes to this land. He's helping out the queen, all this stuff, and he says it's fine if you guys have people in slavery for 7 years.
Well, he's very pragmatic, right?
Yeah.
He's dealing with a world where slavery already exists and is prevalent through a certain part
But
of the world.
it's been abolished. They got rid of it. He's bringing
Is
it back.
though? But and he's also sitting in a situation where the other two cities that had it abolished have been overrun by the old masters, and
Sure.
so he's being pragmatic about it. It's not because he's like, I love slavery or I can tolerate slavery. He's like,
So would you say he's neutral about it?
yeah, no. I mean, I think that's a pretty good example of. Well, I mean, the thing is though,
I do that too.
it's a weird one because even a lawful good character could be in that situation and make that choice if his lawful side is
I think a lawful good person would do that.
could, if he's looking at it from the point of view of doing this and just outright abolishing it is going to cause more bloodshed and get more people killed and not have a lasting effect because he sees what's going on in these other cities. They're back to the old way. Their slavers are in charge and all the slaves are back being slaves. So he's saying if this is going to take effect, it has to be a gradual process where we meet people halfway. So I mean, I can see it both ways.
Well, I'm more confused than when I started.
Well,
I have no idea where he sits.
What alignment are we even talking about now?
Chaotic, bad.
Chaotic, lawful.
neutral.
Neutral.
All right. Well, I think he's going to be the enigma that he is.
Although Game of Thrones, shit, I just thought of another good one.
All right. Well, you
Maybe
hold
you
on.
can
To
From
that.
Game of Thrones, I'm not gonna.
Nice.
All right. Shoot, Brett.
All right. Yeah. I honestly, I was having a hard time thinking of like a really intriguing one. So this
That's
is
the
more
word.
putting one out there that I know a lot of people agree with, but it might be nice to kind of talk about. The Xenomorphs, the aliens from
Yep. Nice.
Aliens.
Yeah.
But just for the viewers out there, a bit of a description as to why I agree with that sentiment of they're animals. You know, that they have no moral quandary about injecting a baby into your stomach and gluing you to the wall like that. Spoilers, by the way.
Spoilers.
But
Just giant spoilers
'Cause
flashing underneath me.
I think in one of our previous things, someone mentioned them as being like neutral evil or some kind of evil.
that was me.
But I don't see them as evil. They're just a part of nature, you know,
Yeah.
a different part of nature from a different part of the universe. But they don't have any moral care as to whether they hurt you or they don't hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just doing this to survive. They live to breed, and the way they breed is through your tummy. So, so they're gonna do it, and they do it quite well.
They're too creepy, so I'm giving them the evil category.
They look evil as
They
fuck.
look evil as fuck.
So that is would be a human's perspective of the alien, but the alien itself is like, I'm just
Yeah, I
I'm just doing
agree.
my thing.
I think I mean, when you analyze their actions and their motivations, it's not, they're not out there torturing people and terrorizing places. They're running in, snatching people, implanting them with eggs and throwing them in the hive, and then going and getting more, and, that's it.
And also, I mean, yeah, there's if I could put a little bit of an argument in here, they all follow the commands of the queen. However, so in
Yeah,
some
she's
way,
dumb.
follow some form of a
They're
law.
lawful good.
They're lawful. But on the other hand, they will turn on each other, as seen in Alien Resurrection, when they need to get out of the cell, like kill one of them so that it burns through the thing. They have no problem with killing another one of them just to do that. Well, anyway, I think that
Are we really counting Alien Resurrection as much as I like it? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's better than Alien 3, but
I will defend Alien 3.
you shouldn't.
I would defend Alien 3 if it was the only Alien movie.
Well, but it's not.
Well, it's not. That's the thing. If it was in its own self-contained universe where none of the other stuff happened, Alien 3 would be a totally watchable movie. But the fact that you had Aliens and Aliens before that makes it almost
Like-
unwatchable.
I can't think of a lamer thing to do, like when you're handed, okay, here's the ending of Aliens. What are you gonna do with it? You got this kick-ass like female protagonist that's like got the maternal instincts.
yeah.
You got Newt, who's like the kid.
Awesome.
You got fucking Kyle Reese, who's like Hicks. He's like this badass Marine. And they're drifting in space. They could literally land anywhere and be in any situation. It's this huge opportunity to flesh out this crazy universe that
And
we've
then what
seen
happens?
glimpses of. And it's just like, oh no, you landed in those other cool characters that you spent a whole movie developing. They're dead. Don't worry about it. So, anyways, this other thing, and you're just like, dude, what? Like,
Well,
I don't want to go there.
But we got Charles S. Dutton, and that's a plus.
Yeah. I mean, we could discuss this for a while, but yeah, I
So-
definitely hear what you're saying, and I agree with that. But there were a lot of other aspects that I personally thought were really cool about it. I thought the desperation that they brought back in, Aliens was very much a war film. This got back to kind of the horror film of they have no weapons to fight it, and good luck.
They didn't have weapons on the escape pod. They could have been in a similar situation with cooler characters. I think they just couldn't get all the cool actors or something.
That was probably it.
Probably.
But
if
anyways.
you pulled kind of like the Boba Fett thing that I said, if you said Aliens 1, just Aliens.
Or Alien.
Fine.
It's Alien.
To me, it's Aliens 1. I'm with Mike on this.
Aliens
Everything
1.
in that franchise
Is
is
Aliens
branches off of
with the number.
Aliens.
Aliens was really the genesis, but just
Well, there
that
was only one
creature.
alien.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Irrelevant.
But if you went with just Alien,
Yeah.
then how would you sit on it? Because it's kind of, I kind of feel like
That's true. They
I
didn't
really
do the
only
life
know the
cycle
first
thing.
one. I don't give a shit about the other ones. I feel like it's kind of like the original Star Wars.
Neutral
I didn't
Evil.
really care about all the other stuff.
What do you mean
Like,
they didn't do the life cycle thing?
Did he? Oh, wait, I guess he did impregnate
Yep.
the dude with the.
And in one of the deleted scenes, they showed someone glued to the wall.
Okay, well. But I get what you're saying about Alien Resurrection, but I think that was more the fact that it was showing intelligence,
True.
that it was able to, they're killing one of their own. Typically we think cannibalism and stuff, that's like this sign of it's an aberration, which it isn't, by the way. Bears are cannibals, all sorts of animals are cannibals. But it showed that intelligence, so I think that was more of a, that was kind of a like a literary technique with their
Yeah.
But that almost showed a lawful side because they're able to work together so well.
hive mentality, right? Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the true neutral. I just think of I always see neutral evil as kind of like these weird primal things that just do nothing beneficial. They're like locust, right? They're just trying to survive, and they're just doing their thing to do it, and it's completely harmful and destructful to everything else around them.
Destructful, I love it.
Yeah, that's my new word.
Yeah, I wonder if the aliens themselves, the xenomorphs, have a problem with overhunting an area or overbreeding in an area.
I think they do.
Wiping
Yeah.
everything out.
That's why you end
I'm
up with
trying to
those
remember
ships
some of
with
the
the
stuff.
dormant
Yeah.
eggs.
Eggs and stuff, yeah.
And I think they're kind of like batteries. Like they just can shut themselves down and go into hibernation for a long time. If I recall correctly.
Typically, you
Yeah.
see the eggs
they
are...
probably don't have much of a problem with that. They're like, well, whatever. I'll just shut
But
it
Yeah,
down.
that was the inference, I think, from the lore.
But then you have the queen alien who knew something was going on the planet and bombed off and hid in the spaceship to get the fuck out of there. That's a level of intelligence that is just not,
That was like my
It's fine
hives
to be
fucked. I'm
intelligent,
out.
True neutral.
But like, how do you?
And it's also
Well,
survival.
I guess you would
It's
know
like-
this thing would fly. Fair enough. You know what?
No, it was weird, but and also the only argument I would make on that is she was camped out right next to the reactor, and she saw that she could probably. They have weird senses, so
Sense that
maybe
it was
she
going
senses like, oh, this thing's
energy.
getting a little crazy. Yeah, so that's the only. But it's reaching.
All right, you know what? You've converted me. I'll say xenomorph true neutral.
Lawful good. Oh, I mean.
Oh, okay.
Lawful good.
Okay, chaotic good. Got it.
it's funny you say that because I went in thinking true neutral to lawful evil.
You think lawful evil?
Lawful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who's
fair.
this?
I don't know Alien or Aliens or whatever fucking other Aliens movies, Resurrection, and all this other shit.
Aliens
You didn't watch Alien
I'm just gonna throw it
Resurrection?
out there.
It's
I just
Aliens
don't
0.
fucking like it very much. Fuck you guys. Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
I think it's okay. The first Alien movie. I think it's fine.
all right. Well, that's the end of our show.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to talk to
But-
Michael a little bit.
Talking or listening to some of the points.
So, you're out of the group.
Yeah.
Next week we'll have the three of us.
Great. Listening to some of your guys' points and stuff, I kind of take away like, okay, there's a queen and they follow the hive mind, so they're kind of really doing what they're told. And I also think about how the alignment is really more of the view of the masses and how we would view xenomorphs. And I would not consider them neutral at all. I'd be like, oh, it's cool. I understand. It's just a natural thing. I would be like, those things are fucking evil and they fucking will kill anyone they're around.
Yeah, I mean
don't know,
that's
so-
perception, right? Medieval villagers for sure thought wolves were evil. Like those fuckers will snatch babies, they'll do anything. They're monsters. So yeah, I would almost say let's look up in the monster manual whatever a wolf or another predator animal is, and that's what xenomorphs are, because that's basically what they are. They're just from space. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of my take on it,
Most of
because
the animals are.
I agree with the core assertion.
I'm also always wrong. So
Well, you are in this case.
I agree with Brett's core assertion. They're animals. That's
I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, if you break it out and don't think of the perception that we have towards them, of course, true neutral, because they're just behaving as the universe's
Evil.
deed, right?
Wolf alignment, by the way, brings up an auto repair shop, so I'm gonna have to get a little more specific.
So, all right, I'll do that. All right, I'm gonna do mine real quick because
sure
none of you guys have
Super
seen
obscure.
super obscure. I'm sure you fine people out there know it, but these guys aren't hip yet. And I posted it on my thing.
Did
I'm
you?
going.
What thing? Oh, never mind.
When I was talking about it and thinking about it, I was like, Omar Little from The Wire.
Oh, yeah, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched The Wire yet.
Yep. So obviously I'm correct, and that's the end of it.
Wow.
Totally.
No. That guy totally lawful good.
Not even.
He's a cop. He's a lawful good character.
Yeah.
End of story.
No, he's not a cop.
By
He's
the
a
way,
He
criminal.
wants to be.
Wolves always neutral, says.
See, show true neutral. So there you go.
Oh.
So
See?
there you go.
I was right.
And much like a wolf, that's what Omar is. He robs from drug dealers to
That's what I was gonna say.
get his
wolves do
own.
that.
To get that's
That is classic wolf behavior.
Aliens
What,
do
you've
that
never-
too? Remember?
Remember that time that fucking an alien took the dime bag off of?
Yeah.
It was not
Ripley?
that.
Well, no, I mean,
It's all like, I'm
explain,
on a
the
cool,
rulings
super
of
cool
it.
It's all like,
adventure
I'm
too.
gonna get so high.
well, explain this behavior that makes you think he's true neutral. I'd like to
Second
hear it.
mouth is the one snorting.
Exactly. they had their bagpipes so
Just load me up, light the back pipe.
Sorry to get you off
Sorry.
topic.
That's so ridiculous.
No, I'll be real quick. So he,
Aliens on coke. That's what I'm
well,
hearing.
I'm just now picturing them putting like weed in their back pipe and then lighting.
Oh
that.
my god,
Like they're their own bong.
that would be fantastic for them.
No, good for them.
We
Anyway,
all got like a little.
so
Maybe they'd chill out, chill the fuck out. Just fucking aliens stop grabbing people. Just get them all high, and they just sit around.
munching on Cheetos.
Do they even eat? Did we ever
they got
establish
some
that?
fucking dreadlocks and shit.
I mean, do aliens eat? Because they,
Predator, actually.
well,
Yeah.
they breed. I
we never see them grabbing people to eat,
The
right?
real guy, I would be willing to bet they actually don't eat.
Yeah.
They just go until they die.
Yeah, they're like
And then
batteries
they
with
just-
acid.
I mean, a long time ago, I read up on them a bit, and if I recall correctly, they don't need to eat.
See?
But in the video games, you kind of ate corpses to regenerate, but they needed some way to regenerate.
Yeah, without giving them a health pack.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
the synthetics were such bastards.
I know, and
because
you
you
couldn't see 'em.
couldn't see them, and they had shotguns, and then when you did kill them, it was a hard fight, and they didn't give you health. Fuck those guys.
All right, well, back to Omar Little.
Well, that's what Omar Little would do too.
Yeah,
Well,
he
he would.
hates synthetics with a passion.
Usually
He
eats people.
hates them. Now, his whole thing was he robbed drug houses, stash houses. Like, he would go in and he would send in people to impersonate other people, and he'd go bust in there, take their money, stash, and he would hide out in, like, the broken homes of Baltimore, like that. But sometimes he would go help the cops out, where, like, he'd give them tips. He even went on trial once and stuff like that. Drug dealers hated him. Cops also hated him because sometimes he'd leave a fucking messy-ass scene where it'd just be like, okay, there's this guy doing, he'd run around.
Did he ever help the bad guys?
Sometimes, if it benefited him as well, it was kind of like he knew there's one dude he wanted to kill, like outright. Because the other thing about Omar, spoilers, if you didn't read it, he was gay, right? And no, not a lot of people knew, but some people knew, so they went out and retaliated against the person that he was against. So he had this real, like, he was massively after this one person. I don't want to go too much into it, but the whole thing was that he had a chance to take him out. He didn't.
But so do they delve into why isn't he just a cop if he's like after criminals?
Oh no, because he doesn't follow. It's not just after criminals. He's just after the ends, right? It's just like it's the easiest thing for him to do. Like you would kind of get the sense that if he knew he could walk into a bank every day and rob it, he would.
Yeah.
But he knew that these guys weren't going to report him.
Yeah, and it's not like the cops are going to be like, "Oh no, someone knocked over this crack house." Oh,
Man. Exactly. So he was taking advantage of the situation. But but again, he went on trial and ratted some people out, took off for a minute, came back. But like when he rolled through the neighborhood, the one thing you would get is everyone was like, "Omar's coming," and everyone that would either book into to their houses, lock the doors, like because
that's like when I loaded into a starport in Star Wars Galaxies.
they'd be
Be
scared
like, "Oh
of shit of
shit,
you.
bounty hunters!"
That's exactly it. I mean, he was like this. He was almost like a force of nature on the own right, because he would change the streets when he was around there. Wasn't afraid of
Interesting.
anybody, but he didn't. he straddled the line that protected him and his, right? And
So
whatever that needed.
You could say that. I mean, I don't know the show, but would you say he was kind of out for the good of the streets and the neighborhood more than himself?
No.
Or okay,
I would say it was just a byproduct of what he was doing.
okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
he
what
did some good, but
It
not
was-
because he cared.
not necessarily
It
exactly.
sounds like he was just doing it because it's the easiest.
It was the easiest thing to do, and it just happened to sort of benefit, but wasn't a great impact to as a whole because these guys were making so much money anyway. It wasn't, it wasn't like he was popping off and stopping street crime or anything like that. He was robbing these drugs houses because he knew they had $4,000 or $5,000 in there, and it was easier for him to do that than for him to like get a job. You know what I mean? Like he's like, oh well, I work at McDonald's. This is great. They'll promote me to fry later on.
Yeah.
So, I thought he was a good choice for True Neutral. I recommend it. It's dated as shit. Like when they use pagers and the cell phones are big as fuck. It's a dated show.
My pager's blowing up.
But it's literally probably one of the best active
Yeah, I've heard
shows
that.
I've ever watched.
Can I-
Especially.
I was gonna say, can I ask you, being Mr. Marvel over here,
Shoot.
is Daredevil true neutral, being like lawful lawyer by day and then
No. I'd say
I thought chaotic good.
and then chaotic?
I would go chaotic.
I mean, any vigilante character who's not an asshole kind of has to be chaotic good.
Because he's breaking the law
Yeah.
that he upholds in the morning.
But he's doing it for good, right?
He's doing it for overall good, but he's breaking the law.
Yeah, well, that's why it's chaotic, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. If he wanted to be lawful good, he would have, instead of becoming a lawyer, he probably would have became a cop.
I was just wondering if, because he is, by day as a lawyer, he's definitely lawful good. He's using the law, and then at night he's being chaotic. And I was wondering how those mix
I
together.
would say he's probably more lawful neutral when he's lawyer form, because hopefully most lawyers would be. Because they're not
I guess he's also kind of he's not breaking the law, but he's like listening to their heartbeats and
Exactly, yeah,
applying
he's-
pressure on them, and he's not actually just using the law.
He's as good as it at his
I
job.
feel like he's chaotic good, and his relationship to the law is the same as someone like Tyler Durden or Cobra Commander. Like, his soldiers have laws that they have to obey, and he exploits that, but he doesn't abide by them, and that's kind of how Daredevil operates, right? Like, he's chaotic. He just runs around in a costume at night beating people up with sticks, but he uses the law because he's a lawyer to his advantage when he can. So, that's kind of where I think he sits.
All right.
I'm just wondering about that really quick. So.
Yeah.
Well, let's shoot with James.
I want to hear what you got.
Yeah,
I've been waiting for this.
I've been looking forward to True Neutral for a while.
Really missing.
Yeah, it's just like dumb. You're like, no, it doesn't fit. No, but and I actually have another one that's actually a similar character, actually, from Game of Thrones. But I'm going to go with, from Record of Lodos War, Carla, who is, I hate to spoil it for everyone because it's only been out since the early 90s. But, and if you haven't watched Record of Lodos War, I 100% recommend it, even after these spoilers. Carla is actually she's, just to illustrate how neutral she is, she's called the Grey Witch. And
okay, yeah.
so her character background, and this isn't really laid out into the story until like the way later end or the the wrap up, but finale, if you will. But she originally was a sorceress or a wizard in this kind of old kingdom of wizards, kind of like a Dalaran from WoW or Halrua from Forgotten Realms. And they got sacked when there was this huge war between good and evil, and they just got wrecked. And she was killed, but before she died, she infused her consciousness into this circlet. It's like a tiara type thing. And through that, she was able to live on throughout the ages. And her takeaway from that was, look at the destruction and chaos that was wrought in this struggle between good and evil. And she dedicated herself to being and this is where it becomes different from what people see as like a Treebeard type of ambivalent neutrality, where you're just kind of hands off. She's actively neutral. So what it kind of goes on to the throughout the history of Lodos, where even before the show starts, they talk about the great heroes, where you've got King Kashu and Beld and King Fawn and all those guys who were an old adventuring group who fought for good against the ancient evil and slew dragons and shit. She was one of the original heroes because at the time, evil was getting out of control and running amok. So she did the good thing. And you discover at the end of Lodos Wars that she's been maneuvering everything that's been going on. So there's this, because, in the climate in that show is good and evil are kind of coming to a head. The good guys and the bad guys are having this big war. And her manipulations are knocking them both down. And in the end, she lures the two former companions that are now the good and evil kings into a duel. And she just hangs out and waits till one of them wins. And then when he wins, she's like, cool. Kills him. And she's like, sweet, now you both lose. And neutrality wins. Peace. And that's it. And then later on, she's, again, she's doing the same thing where her goal in manipulating all this is that Lodos wins. She doesn't care about good. She doesn't care about evil. She just doesn't want to let them get out of control because she, realizes that what happens. So,
how many seasons is this show?
It was just one. Well, the original was like kind of a series, and then they did a sequel / remake, which not terrible, just
didn't have the same charm as the original.
But
I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's a cool story.
It was basically D&D anime.
I'm definitely not gonna pirate it.
I mean, I have it on DVD if you want to borrow it.
Gim, I was like,
yeah, because he's a badass.
Yeah, dude,
but yeah, and so that is, it's funny because I have always struggled to come up with like an archetypical true neutral character, but I mean that's it right there. And again, it comes back to my this thing. I love the idea of taking a weird alignment and finding a way to make it a villain, because they end up having to fight her because they want good to win, right? They're like, dude, this fucking crazy evil dragon's gonna come out and like wreck the land, and she's like, well, I mean, you guys have had it pretty good for the last few, 100 years or whatever. And so, yeah, you've got this situation where the big bad is actually just fanatical about neutrality. So it's an interesting character for sure. And actually, I feel like Lord Varys is a little similar in Game of Thrones, where I still, even after like how many seasons, I don't know who the fuck side he's on. I mean, he kind of sides with Tyrion, and people tend to like him because he does some things where, he's protecting certain characters and everything, but they never, at least maybe in the books they do, but I'm kind of, and perhaps I'm just not following closely enough, but I'm just like, I don't know what this fucking dude's deal is, but
Which one is Varys?
He's the eunuch guy.
There's like fucking 100 guys.
The eunuch dude.
Yeah.
And he said many times, like, I'm in this for the realm. And that reminded me of Carla. I was like, oh, okay, I see what your bag is. So maybe he's true neutral, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he makes a big point of his eunuchness and how that lets him be impartial on a lot of stuff he might not otherwise be.
Yeah, because he's not driven by, like, really carnal desires at that point. He's more
well, that, and it's also just a more even-keeled temperament, right? He's not filled with testosterone. He's not like, I must fight and conquer. So
I mean, I haven't really been able to pick out his overall intentions, and because he definitely plays the game, right? Like he knows lots of people and he does a lot of shit behind the curtain, but it's hard to tell if he really does it for himself or for the greater good. I mean, I would think at this point I'd have to say neutral because I don't really know.
You know what's funny though? As
he's always around.
He's always there.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's not there. That's pretty 50-50 to me.
Yeah, sometimes he just pieces out. He's like, this is a bad situation. Later, beep.
And then he comes back when it's pretty good, and no one's like, hey, motherfucker.
Yeah. He's like, I had some spy shit.
Don't worry about it.
Although, I will say, this last episode, I loved just seeing him for the first time, like, aghast and mind blown. He's like, it was awesome because he's been so, like, throughout every situation that he's been exposed to,
He's
even when
he's been so neutral.
Yeah, even when he's forced to do something he wouldn't have otherwise done, he's calm and collected. He's like, well, here we go. Thanks, Dick. But this, he's just like, it was awesome. So
I
yeah,
like that you said thanks, Dick.
Well, let's play on.
he
words.
speaks out of
Yeah.
jealousy.
Yeah. Thanks, Dick.
Question mark?
Question mark.
Well,
fair
I feel
enough.
like
I think-
we've given True Neutral.
Yeah, I think we punched True Not. We DDP'd.
Yeah,
We DDP'd.
We DP'd what?
No, DDP'd, not Diamond
Dick
Dallas Page.
Oh right, the double dick
Yeah.
punch.
Double
tune
dick
in to
punch.
see if miss.
Eventually,
I
so,
may or may not be responsible for that.
Yeah, he. I'll never
Well,
forget
you
that.
could have got beat up by a soldier.
I was upset. Okay,
She was.
When you get pissed off, you get pissed off when you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this awesome thing. Roll a 1, get your ass kicked by a villager. Not cool.
Vanya was not true neutral at that point.
Oh no.
Oh, was that when he did the 1, 2, and the 3?
Yeah.
No. I
No,
did
it was
that
like
later.
No.
I think that was it because I think
you-
you had me and
No.
Tiffany give up our inspiration for you for that.
Yeah,
Well,
thought,
okay, well, let's rewind. I didn't have you do that. You guys did that, and I appreciate
I'm
it.
sorry. Yes, you didn't
But I wasn't
make
like,
us-
okay,
You
guys,
just screwed it up.
you guys gotta give me your inspiration. I need this.
Yeah, we were mugged. He threatened to.
Moment.
No,
No,
he
I
threatened
quit
to
if you
withhold XP from us from the next game.
I think we just as bad didn't want that to happen.
I don't think anyone did. No one wants to get their ass kicked by a villager.
I was
so-
laughing for
I
like
was-
a good 5
I
minutes
was
on that
too,
one.
but it was
Yeah.
just so.
It was great.
It's one of those like the dice are so cruel. Like,
The cruel
and it's funny
mistress.
because
They're so neutral.
this isn't this. They're not. They're evil.
Your dice are not
Chaotic
neutral.
evil.
Mine are chaotic evil, but it's one of those situations, and this wasn't so much so, but like it always happens when I try and role play something cool. Like when Giles, I was like, oh, there's a giant. All right, he's gonna run up and like leap onto the roof of the little well and run up that, then leap off the top. And since he's got action surge, he's gonna do a slash and a flip and another slash before he lands. I'm like, you're like, cool, roll acrobatics. Like 1. I'm like, yeah, that would fit. I mean, I don't
On the
know.
well.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it seems like no matter how hard I try, the dice mock me.
Don't worry, like I said, I hit a fucking hay bell at like 90 miles per
That
hour.
was amazing.
It's like terminal velocity.
Yeah.
This episode.
All right,
Fuck
Let's-
you, dice.
move on to our last thing. We'll be quick
Questions,
about it.
huh?
Yeah, we have some questions. These are either pulled from Reddit, and one of our questions actually was sent to us via YouTube. So, when you hear us talk about stuff, please make sure you check us out on that end, or question us or comment. We love to hear it one way or the other.
Yeah, and that's YouTube comments are a real great way to get our attention since it's just goes straight on the video and we see it. So
Exactly. All right, so let's see. I want to pick. How do I get involved in this game? This is what one was posted by Knock on Reddit, and he pretty much was saying he played D&D in the past, didn't play very much, but he was a nerd. But he's in his 30s now. He doesn't have any friends who plays. He's looking for outlets, but he does have his wife and he does have his kids. And he was just trying to figure out how to get started in the game. I think he picked up a player's handbook. So he had that much going,
There you
but
go.
he's trying to figure out like the next steps.
Step one.
What's the next step?
Get a DM book.
no, I'd say Lost Mine of Fandover.
So starter set.
I'm a big proponent of that. Just from a DM perspective, I think it does a great job of like hand holding and giving you an idea of how a game should be run, especially from the starting thing. Okay, gives you a plausible backstory that's easy to work with, and then you kind of go through beginning encounter, which is completely manageable, and so on and so on, and it just ramps up from there. And on top of that, it's also good for new players because, it's what it is. It's a starter set, and I just feel like they knocked it out of the park with Lost Mine.
Yeah.
Well, you said starter set. I was going to ask, does the starter set have
Yeah, it's
a
a-
module in it?
Yeah, it's the box set of Lost Mine of Fandover is the starter set where it
Got it,
comes
okay.
with,
Alright.
and you don't even need a player's handbook to run it. It comes with all the characters. So if you want to just be like, okay, I don't want to get super involved with everyone making their own characters and stuff, because especially with beginning characters, that can be a little weird because it's like, okay, now when you make a character, a lot of weird variables can come in. We've been talking about like secret backgrounds and also all that can come into the mix. So, you can just throw out the pre-generated characters, which I've never been a fan of, but we've done it once or twice, and it's always fun because you tend to just kind of
for it.
yeah. But so it's got the pre-gen characters, it's got the little rule book, and you can also, even if you're thinking about starting, well, I don't know how many like just D&D curious people would be listening, but I mean, if they are, we have a link on our website to the free rules. There's like a free player's handbook-ish type
it's like
thing.
125 pages.
Yeah, and I think there's a DM equivalent. And there's a bunch of free PDF stuff online. And I mean, they've been pretty upfront about just being like, we want to get our game out there, so check it out. And I mean, between Lost Mine and the free stuff, I think that's the way to head.
But how about a lack of people to play with? That was another part of his question, was he didn't have any of his friends, didn't seem like they were able to play or anything like that, but he did have his family, and made me think of you, Brett.
Yeah, I was thinking I'd like to touch on that. So I have a wife and 3 beautiful daughters, and I have one thing I've done I've run them on some games. I don't know how old your kids are, Knock, but
how old are the girls now?
Mine are 7, 8, and 9.
Okay, just for reference, yeah.
7, 8, 9. Oh yes, it's a heck of a household. So my kids collect these little Minecraft toys about this big. They have hundreds of these things, and they're obsessed with them. They play with them constantly. So instead of running a game with orcs and goblins and dragons and all this, I would let them pick their heroes. One picked Steve, one picked Alex, one picked a cat. And
that was Piper.
Yeah.
No.
And gave them some stats, and then for the bad guys, instead, I just use the stats for, say, an orc, but instead of an orc, I had a creeper, or zombies, or just zombies. So, and I would have them fight these things. They're pretty young, so I really streamlined it. Like, I wasn't getting in super complicated stuff. I would just tell them to roll the dice and I would tell them what happened.
You do not have the proficiencies to wield this pick.
yeah, I know, right? And they had a blast with it. They had a lot of fun. I think if I had tried to throw them totally into the world of Faerun and do all this, they would have been overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But also, my wife is a new player to D&D. She'd never done a lot of geekery, as it were, before we got together. But she was like, hey, I'll try that out. And we started playing, and she's loved it. And it's been really awesome to bond over that. So, if your wife is watching...
She's really gotten into it.
Yeah, she's really gotten into it.
I'm pretty sure I heard her correct you on a spell the other night.
Ooh.
Well, you know what's interesting, too, is you don't need to...
Well, it's one of those things where she's really dived right in, and she's really enjoying it, and she read up on, like, some spells that she's really interested in, and you're like, I think it might do this or that. She's like, well, actually, no, it does this. It was like,
well, you need to check yourself.
Yeah.
Well, one thing also to remember is you don't need to go that deep into the lore, because most medieval like villagers. I think Matt Colville brought this up, and I actually really liked it. Was most like medieval villagers didn't know much beyond what was over the next hill. It was their village, and that was about it. So if you just want to run a game with a village, and then there's orcs in the woods, it's all you really need. You don't need the lore, So that's something to remember. But also, it's funny. I was actually just chatting with the guy at work. I just got added to that team, and we were chatting, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I love playing D&D. We have a group every other Friday, and they're actually the same level as our group. They're like 4s and 5s." And he was saying how he hasn't played since I think 2009 because he couldn't find a group. And so, it's interesting because he was talking about he's like, I love D&D. It's so fun. He actually had the funniest description. He said it was like Thanksgiving dinner for his imagination. And
That's awesome.
So just a little shout out to Scott there. But I mean, that's just a testament to how difficult it can be to find a group. And even if you have a group, like our group, we have a group, but it's, we've got jobs and kids and all these commitments. So, it gets, it can get really hard even if you do have a group to play. So starting off as a player with no group, it's got to be tough. it's like, especially as a player. I mean, if you're a DM, it's not that hard to get people that are interested. That in that situation, you're almost like a healer looking for a group. You're like, okay, the group kind of forms around me.
That's true.
But as a player, you're like DPS. You're like, fuck, no one wants me. So yeah, I mean, I think using online tools is also probably pretty huge.
That's what I was gonna say.
I can't really speak to it because I've never done it. I think I would like to actually try a Roll20 game that was all text based, like we were talking about with Matt. But I think that's probably something that people, especially if you're in like a rural area that doesn't, everyone in town and no one is someone you want to play D&D with, turn to the interwebs, or move.
I think if the wife has expressed just as much interest as him, I think they should both grab a laptop and check out Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds. Kind of go in as players and get an idea of what it is, and then maybe just that little bit of experience will allow him to start running their own. And
Roll20, I poked around there, and there's a flag for a game to be set beginner friendly. So, just look for those and be like, hey, and I'm pretty sure you can message the DM and be like, hey, we haven't played before. Is that cool? And, I don't think there's going to be many DMs that are going to be like,
I mean, I hope that's the point of that tag. Right. No. Look, we're not taking new players.
Waiting for beginners.
No, like, I want specific new players. Like, have you rolled dice before?
We should roll some Roll20 or Fantasy Ground games.
Yeah, it takes too much time. All right, well, that sounds like sound advice for sure. I definitely echo that. And, maybe check out your local game shop. If you have one.
Yeah.
You might find some people who'll be interested in playing. Check at work.
I was about to say, talk to your coworkers. I literally just found out today about a dude who's super passionate about D&D, and I didn't even know that. Yeah, of course,
it's amazing actually how many people play when you start
more than you think,
or have played.
My little D20 mug makes all sorts of people give me comments like, "Oh, I used to play D&D." Like, so there's people out there for sure.
Definitely not. There are people out there. And I would say that's the end of Per Diem.
Oh, shit. You've now podmasted your first.
I feel like I gave about a D. But, I want to.
Hey,
20?
The D's the best thing to give.
Ooh.
Good lord.
I'd like to thank
She wants the D&D.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well,
okay.
Sometimes, unless there's headaches involved. Anyway, I'd like to thank our two awesome DMs, our awesome player who should become a DM one day to see how it feels.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank James. You can reach him at Twitter at Chainmail Ninja. Mike, who is at Podmaster Mike on Twitter. And Brett at Ovalt the Great.
All one word, no underscores.
No underscores. Look for
I have a picture now.
Look for Gnome on
really?
it. Yep.
Yeah. Where can we find you, John?
You can reach me at Prester John Rex. I do tweet from time to time.
I've been known to send a tweet.
I've sent a message once or twice. You can find us at a lot of different places. Again, leave feedback and check us out. You can find us at our website, orcchopexpress.com, not .edu, none of that stuff, just orcchopexpress.com. You can find us on YouTube at, which one are we doing for YouTube?
Good lord.
I don't know.
Just search YouTube for Orc-Chop Express.
Hold on, I wrote it down. I swear I wrote it down.
It's YouTube/C/Orc-Chop Express.
There you go. You can find us there. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes. Leave stuff on iTunes. Comment. Give us those thumbs up. That really helps us being tracked down. You can even find us in the Google Play store if you want to listen to podcasts and stuff like that. Also, you can check us out on TeePublic. We have our shop up there, so if you want to help support us, we're a fledgling podcast. We're trying to do a lot of different stuff, so if you want to find us, please purchase a shirt, iPhone cover, a sweatshirt.
Yeah, we got hoodies, we got baseball tees.
Anything.
We even have the Jack Burton style tanks.
We tank tops.
But yeah,
I won't
please
wear
do,
one
because we have a lot of cool stuff planned.
Fair enough.
We'll let you.
You can wear that one. But yeah, please check us out.
500 XP to whoever sends in a picture of them wearing one of those tank tops.
I'll give you 1,000. Fuck that.
You guys are like DM Gator over there.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll hook you
I'm
up,
gonna help.
man.
I'm gonna
Run
help
you
you
on
out.
like this really chill adventure.
Yeah, I'm gonna run you the chill adventure. You can get 1,500 XP and 40 gold.
And also,
10 attacks, let's go!
but yeah, check out our also on the website the character section that will be up by the time this goes live.
Yeah, bug him at Chainmail
don't
Ninja
bug
if he
me.
doesn't get it up on Friday. That's right.
I
said it.
always get it up on
Oh,
Friday.
and guess what? Good night, everybody.
Night.
Peace.
Peace.
Good man job. You're just like. Oh God. All right. Well, that was a thing.
My butt is tired.